brains, because there are some days where you and the guy you do the show with have the exact same topic in mind. Very weird. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
This is Kincade Salciunas.
That's the first time the Phillies have lost 4 straight at Citizens Bank Park since 2022. You mentioned the stat just last week.
70-30.
70-30 in 100 games at home at Citizens Bank Park. And then right after you give that stat, they follow up with 4 straight losses at home for the first time since 2022. That's why baseball is a beautiful sport. That's why
beautiful?
sports are. Oh, yeah, man, it is.
That's beautiful?
Yeah, exactly.
You and I have different opinions on beautiful.
Kincade and Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Tuesday morning, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salciunas alongside my man, John Kincade. Johnny, very, very weird how our minds sometimes
I agree.
are aligned.
Yeah, it is. Well, this happens in life, right?
Yeah, but it's like, it's weird. So I'm driving in this morning, and I was thinking about a conversation that I had last night with our boss, Scott Masteller. He and I were on the phone for about 10 minutes yesterday, and he said something to me that made me think about a topic. And I'm driving in this morning, I'm like, all right, how can I sort of spin this into a discussion on the air?
Okay.
Now, Coop was sick last night, so
Sorry to hear that.
a little bit of a rough night. So I didn't look at my phone. Well, what else is new?
Well, who didn't know that, Pop-Up?
And
I swear to you.
I hit the up button on the elevator here in the lobby. And I go, oh, my God, I never checked. Because John sends me a nightly text about, like, some topic ideas. I said, oh, my God, I haven't checked my phone yet. And I look at my phone, and the first thing you send me is exactly what I was thinking. And it's the weirdest thing.
I think it was what we probably both left yesterday's show thinking about.
It could be.
Because when I got in the car yesterday, I was thinking about it. And then I had 2 different friends who listened to the show, and we thank them very much.
Absolutely.
Say to me that was sort of their observation. And I was like, yeah. I said, that's it baffles me.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at.
So yesterday, I'm on the phone with our boss, Scott Masteller, right?
He's got a long drive.
Yes, he does. Yesterday sucked for him, too, because there was lots of traffic. And so we're on the phone, and we were talking about the chemistry of this show, Kincade and Salciunas, and how you and I could disagree like we did yesterday for 4 hours.
I don't think it was funny. I think yesterday we disagreed more than we have in any show we've ever done.
I think you might be right.
300 and some?
300 and some, yes.
314 yesterday. You know what's funny is? It was 314 yesterday.
How about that? Wow, that's actually kind of weird.
It was so there you go.
So we're walking out of the building, laughing.
Yes.
Right? We talked to high school kids yesterday. We were talking about, like, high school stuff, like just laughing.
We told them the world needs ditch diggers, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't necessarily get in the radio.
We say, see you later.
See you, buddy.
See you tomorrow.
Later.
And we drive off on our way.
My car was all shiny clean.
Mine was not.
Carlos, the Civic, looked like something that, like, honestly...
I had a long drive to Shenandoah this past
weekend. Off the set of The Wire. It really did.
And so...
I thought Omar was going to get out of it whistling.
And so yesterday when I'm on the phone with Scott and I'm talking about that, how we disagreed for 4 hours, and yet we walk out of here laughing, joking about stuff. And Scott says to me, well, that's what sports should be. Sports is not about life and death.
Amen.
To which I chuckled. And I said, but Scott, for some people it is.
One of the people who chimed in yesterday, who I now consider a friend, is one of the people who helped give me my life back.
Nice.
And this person said to me, you've dealt with life and death.
Yeah.
Which is so weird that you use the term life and death.
Yeah.
Said you've dealt with life and death numerous times over. And you treat sports as just like sports is entertainment.
Right.
Sports is entertainment. It's to me it's what I look forward to. It's passing the time. You plan your summer nights around it, or cooking out around it.
I told
or
you
sitting outside around
this past Friday when I was down the shore with my buddies.
The projector, right?
I brought a projector screen with me because I knew my son was going to be asleep by the time 4th or 5th inning rolled along, and I didn't want to be inside the house making a ruckus. So
you're down the shore with your boys.
We went outside.
Right.
We had a fire pit going. Booze was flowing. Like we planned the night around the Phillies game on Friday.
No, the Phillies didn't cooperate that night.
No, they did not. They did not want it to be a party. At least it was better than Saturday.
Now, I said to you, though, it didn't ruin your weekend.
No, it did not.
And the Phillies turned up 2 clunkers.
The Phillies tried ruining people's Saturdays.
Yeah, they did. And for some people, they did.
Yeah.
Ruin their Saturday.
And so our topic today is, how does sports impact your life? Or how do you allow sports to sort of, or how do you view sports, right? Like, you view it as entertainment.
I
but here's
view
the
it
deal.
as entertainment.
But here's the deal. Like a bad show, you might get upset that you wasted your time.
Oh, no questions
Because
asked.
I've seen you get angry with all the teams here in Philadelphia. I've
Sure.
seen you get upset with athletes outside of Philadelphia. So even though you say you view it as entertainment, you do get bothered by it. Now, it doesn't impact you for the next day or the next 3 days. We have seen in this building, let alone this city, a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday after an Eagles loss, how there can be people whose moods are horribly impacted by an Eagles loss, and then an Eagles win, crime drops dramatically. I don't know if that's actually true or not.
It is the truth, by the way. It is the truth. The Eagles playoff run
Oh, well, that was
led
true.
to an amazing lack of crime.
Yeah.
Which is incredible.
And that's the extreme. I'm just talking about moods, but that's the extreme.
Moods is one thing. It's the idea is that I don't understand the concept of if I wouldn't do it. I talked about how we used to play right out of college, played quote unquote competitive softball. With friends. And I remember blowing a game and in softball, and I had my first new car.
Okay.
I blew the game at pitching. And, I threw up some gopher balls. And I had been pretty effective. And I just blew it.
You had your stuff moving that day.
I was pissed.
In slow pitch softball.
I was pissed.
You were hitting your spots.
I was pissed. We wanted this game. It was the advance, and it was playoffs, whatever it was. And I blew the game.
Yeah, you're worse than Luzardo.
I got in the car, and I went, damn. I swung my fist down and broke the turn signal arm off.
Oh, my God.
Of a brand new car. It was dangling.
Yeah.
Like wires hanging out of it and everything. I never played again.
Really?
Nope. I said if I'm going to act like a child, if I'm going to purport myself like a child, then it's not worth it. And I had to pay it was a couple $100.
And I love that you bring that up, because over the course of the show, right? Like, obviously, this is like the main topic, how sports sort of impacts your life, but there's all the branches to the topic. And one of them that we'll get into is you playing yourself, right? Like, you playing sports.
Right.
Because I still play Sunday League baseball. I can't get away from it.
Then that's great.
Even though my knees hurt, my shoulder's shredded, my elbow hurts, I got bruises and cuts all over me from catching, I can't stop.
You handle it the right way, though. You handle it the right way. First of all, you don't think you're Joe Jockhead.
No.
You have a great time with it. You enjoy the people you play with.
I'm there to call a good game for the pitcher.
And you enjoy the activity of it. You still get some sort of an endorphin rush out of it. I always say this. When I retire, I tell my wife, we live close to Iceline. I want to coach high school ice hockey again.
Yeah.
I will, at some point, some local high school will go, we're in need of a high school ice hockey coach, and I will coach high school ice hockey again. I want to do that. But I'll do it when the time is right, when I have the time to devote to it, and I'll do it.
10 years from now, after you retire.
Not 10, screw you. And I will devote and that will be something that I will thoroughly enjoy. But I know that the competitive nature of me,
right,
when I was a coach, it was too consuming at times. But I was a young man in my 20s. Coach it, and it was too consuming. Like it was. I was
thinking about it all the time,
but I wasn't necessarily in it for the right reasons either. You should be in it for the kids. At the time, I was barely out of college, and I was in it for the ego of I'm going to be the best coach.
Right.
I'm going to win. Our teams are going to dominate. We're going to be the best, and we were great. We were great teams, but I wasn't in it for the right reasons. I would be in it for the right reasons.
I like hearing that.
That's different. I wasn't the first time.
Just took about 30 years to realize that.
No, it's truth. Well, then you're a parent, and you grow up. And
that helps, too. But being a parent and growing up sometimes doesn't change how you watch sports.
It's amazing.
Because yesterday, after a 4-game after getting swept by the Brewers and losing that game to the Braves, you would think the Phillies were the worst team in baseball for some people. And that's the ebbs and flows of sports and the ebbs and flows of fandom. So coming up next, we'll first focus on our day-to-day lives when it comes to sports. Good times, bad times with our teams. We'll have different spins on this topic over the course of the show, but we would love to hear from you at 610-632-0975. How does sports impact your life? Time, financially, emotionally,
Many
is
of our
probably
wives
the
think
biggest
too
one.
much.
Absolutely. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Mike Missanelli.
You can't do anything about physical errors. Like, they're going to happen. But when you can manage the game, and it's not brain surgery to manage.
life. We have a bunch of different topics off of this today. And it's weird because John and I have the exact same topic idea. weird.
I think it came off of yesterday. I really do.
Yeah, that was a big part of it. But for me, it was just different. Like, you had people emailing you, and then I spoke with our boss who was just talking about how you and I can have a disagreement for 4 hours and then go home and it's totally fine. Whereas, look, there are people that you can't do that with.
No. There are people that I've worked with
I was about to
in
say
this
the same
industry
thing.
that can't turn off on-air disagreements.
Yeah.
We've never had that moment because I don't think that either one of us cares that. I shouldn't say cares that much.
No,
we care about the show, but we don't care about our opinion being right.
No.
That much.
I kind of live. I live by
I don't
that.
care if I don't care if you agree with me and you don't care if I agree with you.
No.
Like, that doesn't. I've never cared about that. Though.
No, and there are people
Right.
in this industry in life where, like, if you disagree with them, it's how dare you?
Right.
And it's like, oh,
There's a lot of that.
Sorry that I have a different opinion than you, right?
Exactly.
Like, and that happens. So when it comes to the day-to-day life of being a sports fan, right? And obviously the seasons are all different because football, it's one game a week for your team.
Sure.
And then baseball, it's every day. Hockey and basketball, it's every other day. But, like, I can't act the way a lot of our fellow Philadelphia fans act after a baseball loss or a stretch of losses. Like, I'll grouse, right?
Yes.
I'll point out bad play.
Oh, we can do that.
But, like, yesterday, it's funny. Our man Dan Baxter, who we bring up often, right?
What's up, Dan?
And Dan is one of our great engagers on Twitter, great listener, but he can be a stickler at times, right? One day you're best friends, the next day he attacks you.
See, now the thing is, though, is that's something to me that always means that he's going to be honest.
Right, and I appreciate that. But yesterday, he wasn't honest. Like, yesterday on social media,
what?
he responded to one of the videos from the afternoon show about the Phillies' struggles, and he said, too bad Andrew Salciunas will never say something like this because the Phillies are his favorite team and they can do no wrong. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Just because I didn't freak out over a 4-game losing streak? And then he started wording all the things that's wrong with this Phillies team that I've been saying since spring training. Like, he basically repeated everything I said. But because yesterday I did not come in with vitriol.
Piss and vinegar.
Because yesterday I wasn't yelling and screaming, fire Topper! Or trade this guy! Dombrowski sucks! Because I didn't do that, I'm a homer, and I will never say anything wrong with the Phillies, even though everything he said about the lineup, center field, no
It's the same
right-handed
things
bat.
you were sort of
I've
saying.
been saying since spring training.
Right.
I hated that Kepler was like the splash. I hated that they got rid of their bullpen arms or did not re-sign their bullpen arms.
All things true. All things true.
We've been saying that since the season started.
I mean, it's how we handled yesterday was completely different. As far as, to me, I can't stand the fan who looks at, and it's where Connor and I butt heads a lot.
Yes.
Is the idea that it's okay. It doesn't matter. It's one of those things where I say to myself, it was weird because I wrote it down yesterday in the notes where you're like, at what age will I have to be? Where you'll say, what age do I have to be? Where the guy said, I've been watching Phillies baseball. Yeah. At what age do I have to be that I don't have
Jim in Cheltenham was like, I've been watching Phillies
that
for 40
from anybody
years.
for anymore.
Yeah.
I will, at some point, I will like look at the 30-something, the 30-year-old Connor, and I will say, at some point you have to realize in life that what you do day to day does matter.
Yeah.
And at some point, if you show somebody your behaviors, it does matter. Like, that really does. And I've seen it with the Phillies the last few years, and unfortunately, what I'm seeing out of the Phillies this year is the same sort of behaviors. And I think I just have reached a boiling point of, I want to believe, I love to be entertained. I don't believe this team's going to be sitting home in October.
Right.
But late October?
Well, that's
right
the
now,
other thing.
that's where I'm sitting
All of
at.
our boiling points are different.
It is totally different.
Right? Like,
Right.
your and I Sixers boiling points are a lot different.
Fundamentals for me in baseball. Well, there's no boiling point anymore. Unfortunately for the Sixers, there's no boiling point.
Is there water left?
There's honestly the water evaporated long ago. You know when you get that brown scorch?
Yes.
At the bottom, when you maybe you nodded off on the couch when you were trying to make
No,
something?
that never happens, man.
Never happened?
If
There
I'm
you go.
making a munchie, I'm eating that damn munchie. All right.
Yeah, Shaggy.
Coming up next, we'll continue this discussion, and it's going to happen over the course of the show. But instead of just the here and now, there's also positive stuff. And this
Plenty
is
of
not just
positive.
about how it impacts you negatively. we can look back in our past lives, Johnny, because I think, and I'm dead serious, everybody that follows sports has a sports memory that may be in the top 5 of their all-time memories. I'll explain more coming up next. Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The trade compensation is in. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. On Friday, the Eagles agreed to a deal to send Bryce off to the San Francisco 49ers, and yesterday that deal became official. In return, the Eagles will receive a 5th-round draft pick that can turn into a 4th-rounder based on the on-field play of Huff next season. Once we know the exact criteria for that, we will keep you updated right here on the Fanatic. In other Eagles news, Saquon Barkley was announced as the cover athlete for Madden 26. He's the first Eagle to grace the cover since Donovan McNabb 20 years ago on Madden 06. And Vic Fangio set to speak to the media today at noon prior to today's OTA practice. We'll carry that live for you today on the Mike Missanelli Show. After a day off, the Phillies look to end their 4-game losing skid tonight against the Toronto Blue Jays. Zach Wheeler was supposed to be on the mound, but he's away from the team now, awaiting the birth of his child. Christopher Sanchez is going to get the nod tonight in his place. First pitch is tonight at 7:07. This update was brought to you by AAA Tire and Auto Service. Come into your local AAA Tire and Auto Service location and save $40 on any repair, $150 or more. Offer valid through June 30th. Details at AAA.com/mycar. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the NBA Finals, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Vacation? Business trip? Don't worry. You can still...
and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic, talking about how sports impact your life. But real quick, just to update the people. Jonathan Jones from CBS reported last night that the Bryce Huff trade, Eagles trading Bryce Huff to San Francisco, a 2026 conditional fifth-round pick that could turn into a fourth.
Yeah, it's just going to depend on the incentives of what he accomplishes. The one San Francisco writer thinking that there is a snap count on it.
Yeah.
It's not a production count. It's a snap count.
Okay.
So that's good.
We'll see how it goes. Yeah, so potentially a fourth-round pick for Bryce Huff, and you save some money. I mean, look, good for Howie Roseman to just, again, get
Admit
in
the
front of a
mistake.
problem, boom, get rid of him. Did that last year with Devin White, doing it this year, these OTAs with Bryce Huff.
He had a bad, though, in a year that he won the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
he had two bad signings.
Well, and then
Devin White and Bryce Huff in the same offseason.
revisionist history, right? Because I think
What do
we
you mean?
all liked the trade at the time, but Jahan Dotson really being nothing for you. He obviously had the big catch in the
We
Super Bowl.
liked it at the time,
Yeah,
but-
that's why
but
I'm
it
not
was-
trying to rewrite history.
Well, plus you look
And then
at
the moves afterwards.
Right.
Plus,
Because
look at
there were
the,
other wide receivers, better wide
For a
receivers.
lot
went
less.
for fourth rounders, fifth rounders.
Yeah. Now, some of those were rentals mid-season, whereas Dotson you still have this year under control. Maybe that's why it costs a
That's
little bit
supposed
more.
to be exciting me?
Stability with your third-string wide receiver,
Yeah.
with your slot guy or wherever you play
Yeah,
him.
whatever.
You
Listen,
know,
he stepped up. He stepped
He
up
had the
when it
big
mattered.
catch. He had the big one catch in the Super Bowl down to the 1 yard line, tush push.
Don't forget that Packers touchdown.
Tush push.
Set the whole playoff.
That's
run
right.
off.
Yeah, that's right. On the four, was it a third down or a fourth down? Like Hurts made a hell of a play on that one.
It was just
I
the
still
10.
remember.
It was the 20 seconds he had to pass.
Yeah, it was incredible. All right, so how does sports impact your life? We have so many different branches on this conversation, and one of them is past memories.
Okay.
John, and I think maybe not top 5, maybe that's a little over the top, but probably not. I believe that there is a sports memory that every sports fan has, especially here in Philadelphia, that may be in their top 5 favorite memories of all time.
Maybe? Do you think you put a maybe on it? I honestly,
hold on.
I don't know. I don't know.
Hold on.
Okay.
Again, Super Bowl is obviously the first thing that comes to everybody's mind, right? The first
Yeah.
one.
How about it?
You had birth of your child. You
Birth
had
of my child, my wedding.
Wedding day.
Yeah.
Is engagement not in your
No,
top 5?
no,
See, my
no.
engagement day was freaking awesome.
No, mine had a. I had the limo and a hot air balloon rented
Yes.
and all this stuff, and then weather intervened,
That sucks.
and I had to make a last minute plan to maneuver.
You mean
No.
to tell me there wasn't like a day on a honeymoon or a day
No.
or a day on your daughter's graduation from Temple where
That
you
was
got to
awesome.
be on stage?
That's like a top 5 day.
That's
we
what I'm
walked
saying.
out.
We got a lot of top 5 candidates here.
No, but I mean, there are candidates there, but are you kidding me? No. I mean, February 4th, 2018.
yeah.
It ain't getting out of the top 5.
Yeah.
The first Super Bowl win is not getting out of the top 5. I dreamed of it. I wanted it. I wanted it my whole life. And unlike you brats,
I didn't have to wait as long.
I had to wait my entire life for it. You know, I said, my daughter waited till she was 14.
Yeah.
You know, and now she's seen 2 and seen another Super Bowl, you know, that she didn't win. So she's 21. She's seen 2 Super Bowl parades.
It's amazing, isn't
And
it?
one other trip to the Super Bowl. Brats.
Yeah, but you're
Capital
happy.
B.
You're
Talk
happy
about
for
brat-
the brats.
Talk about Brat Summer.
Oh, that was last year.
That's Brat Fall. That's Brat
over.
Fall.
Brat Summer was 2024.
Well, guess
John.
what? Brat Fall was last year for
Even
all you
I,
brats.
even I know that, Mr. Anti
Yeah, I'm
anything.
shocked.
I know all about that.
Okay.
But seriously, like I think back, like you know me. When it comes to sports, I obviously get excited and get fired
Uh-huh.
up and get angry. But when I watch a game, I'm pretty calm, right? And when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, when that ball dropped, when Gronk didn't come down with it in the end zone,
You were calm?
no, I was shaking.
I was.
My wife and I, it was just me and my wife watching the game because I had my first shift afterward, my first on-air shift from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. So I wasn't at like some Super Bowl party. And my wife was like, we hugged and she's like, oh my God, you're shaking. And I was like, the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
It's unbelievable.
But like, I'm not somebody that's like, rah, rah. You know, sometimes I am, right? But like, I was just in such a state of shock that my body was shaking. She'd never seen anything like it before.
See, the girls understand it with me. They understand the psychosis of the Eagles more than anything. I mean, they really do. They understand it. They're dying for with Father's Day coming up. They're trying to get. I can't find the Super Bowl football that I want.
Okay.
They want to get me a Super Bowl football, and
The one that you
Kincade.
display, yeah.
And I haven't been able to find one that I want.
Okay.
And they're like really pissed because Father's Day is right around the corner. They were like, I thought.
Oh, that's what they wanted to get you.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they wanted to get there was a table book, like a coffee table book of the Eagles' first Super Bowl that is down in the Kincade. They wanted to get. They said, "Is there another book out like that? The coffee table book?" I'm like, "Not yet. Not that I've seen." So I'm like, they're all pissed. They know how much it means for me,
Right. And
they know how much that meant.
And these are memories that we will take to the grave, right? Like,
Yes.
I was blessed to be at Bedlam at the bank with my wife, right? Like, that's honestly,
you know what that day? Haley has talked about being there with her dad.
yeah, like that.
Her and her dad will remember that on her dad's death.
It doesn't rival the Super Bowl. The Eagles win the Super Bowl is number one. But like, if I take Super Bowl off it, if I take like Super Bowl aside,
if you
Bedlam
take
at the
Super
bank's
Bowl.
number one.
That's great.
And that wasn't even winning the World Series. Think about that. Like, that was obviously the pennant's a big deal. Winning the NLCS is a big deal, but that day, everything that coincided with it, my son was, an infant. It was like our first day out, first night out. Christy and I, like, it was beautiful. And then I think about the Lorenzen no-hitter with two of my childhood best friends.
That can't be a top five, though, can it?
Well, two of my childhood best friends who I went to Phillies games
Okay.
all the time with as a kid. They were down the shore with me this past weekend. They helped take care of my son, right?
Right.
Like, these are the tight, like, these guys are my best buds, right?
But they can't be a top five moment, can it?
I don't know, man. I
Like,
watched
it's-
a no-hitter in person.
What's good, though, is that do you honestly believe if people were to really be honest about it, you think more positive than negative?
What, memories?
Their sports experience, their sports investment.
Oh, more negative because there's only been 3 championships in the last 20 years.
See, for me, I look at it as positive.
I know, me too.
It's weird, but we both, that's one commonality we do have.
Right, like I don't live in,
I'm not going to turn, like, I don't know, I don't turn off the TV angry. I can go to bed after a loss.
Now
the last loss of the year is different.
Right.
That's different. A grueling playoff series
Totally
that ends your
different.
season.
Yeah.
Totally different. But a regular season loss, I could turn off the TV and be done with
But
it.
then there's also like context to it all, right? Like when the Sixers played the Celtics in the playoffs the first time, right, post-process. All right, they lost in 5. I wasn't like freaking out. Like obviously there were some decisions that Brett Brown made. Robert Covington was horrible in that playoff series. But it was the first time they made the playoffs.
You were thinking
This is the
that
beginning.
there were great, bright days ahead.
Right, so like I wasn't like, oh my God, this is horrible. Now, the last time they played the Celtics in the playoffs, games
Was
5,
horrible.
6, and 7.
Horrible.
Like, I wanted to throw up.
Yes.
And so there's context to all of it, knowing how many times we talk about championship windows and playoff windows, right? So there's context to it. But there are some people where if the Phillies lose game 4 of 162,
Oh, yeah.
it's meltdowns.
Yeah, and that's where it's ridiculous. I had my cancer surgery the morning after Game 7 of the Celtics series.
Jeez.
You know, where Joel Embiid and James Harden failed to even make the trip.
Correct, yeah.
I didn't even think they were on the score sheet.
Yeah.
And I said, I remember Dr. Henry Schoon Young talking to me as I'm being put under to have a cancerous tumor taken out of my body. He's talking to me about the Sixers. Boy, that was crappy yesterday, wasn't it? And I'm like, dude, I hope you're focused today, Doc. Just be
please-
on your
please
best.
pay attention.
He's more pissed about that Harden, man. Boy, that was a great no-show. You know, and it's like, hey, Doc, they inject that in my arm, I'm out.
Yeah.
But it just shows. Here's one of the most skilled surgeons in Philadelphia, ready to save my life. And what is he doing? As I'm about to go under, we're talking about the Sixers game
yeah.
from the day before.
Because it's all a part of our lives, and it's insane. The computer, dude, we know the computers listen, right? The phones listen.
They do.
computers- I just refreshed Twitter.
What now?
I saw a tweet from 4 days ago that's just gone viral, but it's 4 days old. If you haven't cried over sports, are you really a real fan? And I get what you're saying. Like I've had that emotion.
Cried.
Yeah, I've cried.
But I don't think I've cried. I don't think I've cried negatively.
Right. As a
Like,
kid.
I don't think I've- like, as a
you know,
kid. If
when
you-
I-
if you
when
talk
I-
about-
when
if you
Allen
talk
Iverson
about-
got traded, Andrew Salciunas cried.
If you talk about it in adult, I have never cried negatively from the time I was like a teenager and a
Right. But happy tears.
Oh, happy tears? Like frequently as a fan, I've done that. Like frequently.
Dude, I told you guys I was a bubbling idiot when I saw Mekhi Becton playing with his son after winning the Super Bowl.
Oh my gosh.
And pouring the confetti over his head. Like I was like my wife had to hold me. Rock me.
I remember flying home from hosting Bellagio's Super Bowl party when the Eagles won.
Yeah.
And I'm on the plane flying home watching SportsCenter on like loop.
Yeah.
The post Super Bowl SportsCenter, and I literally was tears in my eyes watching highlights, watching interviews, and I'm sitting there in first class, upgraded, of course, with points, as I always do.
Yeah.
Upgrade with points. The drinks were flowing, and I was
going to say, that probably added to the tears.
I think it did.
Yeah, probably added to the tears a little bit.
I don't know how I did a show that next day, is all I will tell you.
Well, because you weren't in Philadelphia, that's why.
Oh, that made it worse.
Yeah.
That made it worse believe me.
All right, coming up next, we'll check our text line for the first time this morning. How does sports impact your life? And if there's any topic that you can think of off of that question, tell us. Look, financially, we'll get into at some point this show. But also, coming up next, before we check our first text, communities and how sports have built them. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Connor Thomas.
Lazar's made, 11, 12 starts this year? 11 of them have been Cy Young caliber. And
how much does sports impact your life? So we'll get our first text messages here coming up in a little bit, but communities is another one, Johnny.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason why there's many different communities, right? One of the first ones I thought of, whether they like us or not, is our YouTube community.
Of course.
They watch every day.
Which is appreciated.
Love or hate, they watch us every day. And they have found a community where they have hung out, like they've met up in person. And it all starts with sports talk radio.
Correct.
You know, think about FanFest and people meeting each other at FanFest. Not just us and listeners, but fellow listeners.
And they find a commonality of a community among themselves.
Yeah.
That is adjacent to us.
Right, exactly.
We are a conduit to it, but it's adjacent to us.
Yeah. I think about, I still play Sunday League baseball. And when I used to live in Manayunk, in the league that I used to play in, this is before anybody had kids.
Okay.
Some of us were married, but it wasn't as grueling as the day-to-day now of being, a parent. Man, we would play the game each week. One of us
hit a bar, right?
One of us would bring a case of beer.
Okay.
And then we'd hit a bar afterward. And that was Sundays.
So
right?
it's beer league softball is what you're talking about. Beer league baseball.
From April till September. For 8 years I was in this league. A bunch of them were not in my wedding, but at my wedding. Like this and that's Sunday League baseball. That's not professional sport.
Okay, can I be honest and ask you a question? Mm-hmm. Is that just to ask you a thing? Was the drinking of the beer going on during the game?
Post-game.
No, okay.
Yeah. Come on, man.
Because I'd be a little worried because these are not highly skilled athletes.
No, you don't want a guy who's pitching that could still throw a little bit, but is inebriated. Yeah, you don't want that.
Because Connor still can play.
Yeah.
And Connor will tell me all the time, I don't want to get beaned by a ball by some guy trying to throw 90 miles an hour.
He's just scared.
Well, no, but if some guy was boozing on the bench,
exactly. I'd be
scared too.
Right. So that's the beauty of communities with sport, and that's another thing. Philly sports trips. I know
great.
people that have gone on multiple trips with Philly sports trips that have met other people that have gone on multiple trips, and they're now trip buddies.
How about the fact that at the Super Bowl last year, you had celebrities gravitating to Philly sports trips tailgate party.
Yeah, because they want to be a part of the community.
I have been on various Philly sports trips where I have hung out with Devontae Smith's family.
Yeah.
Where I've hung out with Mrs. Slay.
Yeah, that's right.
Where we've hung out where they've been like, yeah, this is the place to be. This is the party to be at. They know, well, Philly Sports Trips has a great tailgate. We can go there. We can be with a bunch of Birds fans, and we can have a good time.
Right.
So it's a sense of community. My wife was baffled when she moved here.
Right, because she never experienced it.
She never saw it, and you don't see it in the South like this because everybody's a fan of college football is the big deal.
Yeah.
But everybody is a fan of all different college programs.
Correct.
But she would go, I'll never forget the first Sunday she ever went to a Giant or something on a Sunday. And she goes, okay, I need an Eagles hat. I need
because she stood out.
I stood out. Everybody. She goes, every single person, and every single person checking out, is wearing it. And then she says it carried right over to Philly season.
Yeah.
She goes, Philly season, everybody's in it. Yeah. So now she's in a rally house. I need something cute for this. There it is. It's got to be it. It's a sense of community. You want to fit in. You want to assimilate to your surroundings.
Yeah.
And if you can't assimilate here, if you don't assimilate to the sports scene here, you don't fit in.
Yeah, you stand out.
You don't fit in.
Yeah.
If you're the house that doesn't, if you're the people that don't, you're the odd egg on the neighborhood.
Right, absolutely. So how does sports impact your life, for better or for worse? And there's a million branches to this conversation. So what are the people saying this morning on the text line, Gunner, at 610-632-0975?
We got Edwin in Philly checking in saying sports are an escape from reality for me. Of course, I'll be bummed out if the Sixers, Phils, Birds lose a game, but in the grand scheme of things, it has no bearing on my actual life whatsoever. The results will not improve my financial stability. But at the end of the day, sports can be relieving for me. When I play pickup hoops, for example, we can come in from all different backgrounds, but we all have an idea of what we want to do because we love this.
Wednesday nights, right? Well, the last 4 Wednesdays, there's been monsoons, but Wednesday nights when we play pickup,
Well, that's if Gunner's allowed.
Yeah, if he's ever allowed.
Listen, man, I got plans. I can't be tearing my ACL.
If the ball and chain ever gets broken.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
But no, like Wednesday nights, like we have people from all walks of life, Philly, Jersey, sports talk radio, accounting, like everybody's different, but we all step on the court, and it's for one reason. It's to get exercise, it's to play basketball, it's to hang out with people.
Here's one thing I disagree with his text, though. The idea, he goes, winning doesn't affect his life in any way.
It does.
It does. February 9th of this year.
Yeah.
It affected my life greatly.
February 14th of this year.
I mean, seriously.
A parade.
It affected February 14th, and as someone, and I'm not trying to be morbid with you, as someone who has contemplated their deathbed multiple times, I promise you, I've thought about the fact that I got to see that.
Right.
And it absolutely affected my life in a huge way.
Now, maybe
that shouldn't. Maybe that's not a good perspective.
I think maybe he meant more so like the negative, right? Like
the negative. If
a team loses, it's the next morning you're coming.
Oh, well, that's stupid.
Oh God, I can't believe they lost.
I can't deal with that.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
I can't deal with that.
There's a lot of people that are like that. Like, I know that you're not. I know that I'm not, but there are people that are like that. Where after a big loss,
they act like they played.
And look, this isn't even just because I know the first thought a lot of people have is, well, they must have lost money on it. Like, no, there are people that are just so invested.
I'm not ready to talk.
It ruins my week. I'm not going to sit up here and lie to you guys. Like, it'll ruin my week if the Eagles are knocked out, the Phillies are knocked out by the Mets. That ruined my month of October. Halloween was canceled.
All right, so playoffs are a little bit different. But there are people that if the Eagles lose week 2, Wednesday morning, they're still miserable.
I'm losing sleep. Yeah, it ruins half my week.
You're losing sleep?
Yes.
Okay, that needs an intervention. That really does need an intervention.
See, now it's funny. I've lost sleep over excitement and win.
Yes.
Yes. I still remember one of the first times I legitimately lost sleep, and this is 2016.
Okay.
Remember the Eagles started 3-0 with Wentz his rookie year?
The Pittsburgh game was the third game.
Yeah, but that was early. Week 2 was Monday night against the Bears.
Right.
And the Eagles won that game. And I remember laying in bed like, oh my God, they found their quarterback.
And what if they're really good? And then that Sunday afternoon, it was a late game on a Sunday afternoon, and they stomped the Steelers, and you're going, wait a minute here.
They're
3-0.
I was at Attawhack Jacks in the Great Northeast. And I still remember Wentz throwing that wheel route to Darren Sproles. And I was like, oh, my God, dude, they got their quarterback. This is the team. They're finally going to win the Super Bowl. And they did with him on the roster. It just went a little bit differently than anybody expected it. So we'll keep on checking our text line.
Greatest story ever told.
610-632-0975. But also, we'll open up some other stuff as well. Last week, we heard Kevin Patullo for the first time this year. First time ever as the offensive coordinator. Today, we hear from the DC that built an incredible Eagles defense. Can Vic Fangio recreate the magic of 2024? We'll get into that next as well. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Details on the Huff trade. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. On Friday, the Eagles agreed to a deal to send Bryce Huff to the San Francisco 49ers, and yesterday that move became official. In return, the Eagles are going to receive a 5th-round pick that can be turned into a 4th-round pick in 2026 based on the on-field play of Huff next season. Once we know the exact criteria, we will let you know right here on The Fanatic. In other Eagles news, Saquon Barkley was announced as the cover athlete for Madden 26. He's the first Eagle to grace the cover since Donovan McNabb 20 years ago on Madden 2006. Vic Fangio is set to speak to the media today at noon prior to today's OTA practice. We'll carry that live for you on the Mike Missanelli Show. After a day off, the Phillies looked to end their 4-game losing skid tonight against the Toronto Blue Jays. Zach Wheeler was supposed to be on the mound, but he's away from the team awaiting the birth of his child. Christopher Sanchez is going to get the nod tonight in his place. First pitch is tonight at 7:07. This update was brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app today. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the NBA Finals, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Texting. Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. How does sports impact your life? It's just so funny how our brains work. John and I had the exact same topic idea for today's show from sort of off of yesterday's show.
I think it had to be off of yesterday.
But we had two totally different conversations with people that led to us thinking of this idea. And again, there are a lot of branches to this topic. It all starts with the positive or negative impact that sports make for you, because I do believe, you asked me earlier, is it more positive or negative? It is more negative for people.
See, I hope that, like, to me, then we're the oddballs.
Yeah.
Then we're the oddballs. And in many ways, we do have odd quirks that we find in common.
Absolutely.
But we are the oddballs then, because I think if you believe that, do you believe for most people it's
it
negative?
has to be more positive, because at the end of the day, like, people are not going to keep going back to the well for something that breaks their heart a million times if there's no reward that they take at a higher place.
Like, I think even though the results may not be positive, I think the camaraderie,
I
the community.
I think it's everything else, though.
But I think for people, it outweighs the negative of the results.
John, whenever we talk sports, how many times have you gotten the text or the tweet or typical Philly media negative? And it's like,
Oh, you get to that.
but half the time it's not us.
I laugh at
Right, like half the time it's fellow, and let's face it, we are fans, right? Half the time it's our fellow fans that are calling in and texting in that are the ones that are negative, that are always complaining, always grousing, which is why I say shout out to our YouTube community. Hate watching almost every single day, right? Love you guys. But I know how it is. Like, you say one thing about a team, and if it's not, again, yesterday, what started this whole conversation, I wasn't critical enough of the Phillies yesterday for people. And it got people angry at me, not angry at the Phillies for losing 4 straight games. I got crap for not being critical enough. But that's the beauty of sports talk. And that's why I feel like I don't get offended by what anybody says when it comes to my takes or opinions or how I do this job. Like, it's sports talk.
We were talking to the kids from Friends Central yesterday that were in.
Yes.
And one of the kids asked a question. He says, well, do you find it hard to be objective when you're doing sports talk radio? I said, you don't have to be objective doing sports talk radio. We're not journalists.
Right. We don't have to toe a line.
We're talk show hosts. We're paid to just create discussion and to have opinions. And that opinion does not have to be objective. I've worked with people who are extremely objective. I've worked with people who are extremely non-objective. I've worked with people who literally want to pander.
Yeah.
So that way they will have people that will just tell them, we love your opinions. We love you. And then I've worked with, and they don't believe what they're saying.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
And
the opposite, where they don't believe what they're saying, but it's the
they'll
negative.
create it, right? Or
it's
they'll create the negative,
right? It's
right.
like, let me come up with this thing that I know is going to piss people off.
Right, on purpose.
And that's what, there's people that do that. You and I don't do that.
We don't like it. That's just that's a personal preference.
Yeah, exactly.
And some people like listening to that stuff.
Right.
It's a personal preference.
And it goes to how you allow sports to impact your life, either positive or negative. Maybe there are people that want to hear the negative so that they can fight back because they feel like they're protecting their team. But seriously, like,
I know it's just
there are people that
the concept
will
of
get
that makes me laugh.
But there's people that get so angry if you say something negative about a team because of how much they love their teams. Then there's also the opposite, where it's the, come on, man, you're not being critical enough. Our man Jim yesterday, who called in, I've been watching the Phillies for 50 years. Trust me, guys.
Okay.
He said he basically said the Phillies have no shot at winning the World Series yesterday. He came to that determination on June 2nd. Like, I can't live that way.
And more importantly, again, those people disappear during the good times. And then they come back around we didn't hear from them for 3 weeks while the Phillies were rampaging to the best record in baseball. And then it's, well, now I'm back. Here it is. I got the dark rain cloud over my head.
And that's why, look, John, that's why the term Negadelphian exists, right?
And you know what, though? I do believe the Negadelphians are dying off.
It could be.
I really do, because the brat generation of you guys is there's more. Believe me, the Negadelphian generation raised me.
Yeah.
That generation. And then there's less of them in my generation. My generation is the dopey telling you the greatness of Buddy Ryan. Now, I'm going to take credit. The Negadelphian generation's ahead of me. My generation, I have to take credit for the dopey. Buddy Ryan was like this great era of Eagles football. The disciples that tell you how it was amazing during Buddy Ryan. It wasn't.
Right.
We didn't frickin' win a playoff game. We were dopes. We had one of the worst offenses in the NFL. Randall Cunningham got wasted.
Right.
His entire career here.
But people look back at it like it was
people
glory
romanticize
days.
it.
Yeah.
They lie to you. They're lying to you. Dad's a liar. It's easy. When Dad's at the tailgate waxing poetic about Buddy, he's lying to you.
I
will just tell you.
I did your favorite thing in the world.
What'd you do?
A Twitter poll.
Did you?
This was during the COVID days.
Oh, I thought you did it on the ESPN radio show.
No. It was during the COVID days where, we had no sports, right?
Okay,
so
right.
we're
That's different.
Coming up with all kinds of topics. And
you guys were like locked up here.
Yeah, it was horrible.
They had you in cages here.
And I remember asking a question of, it was stemmed off of a conversation I had with somebody. I was like, you're crazy. Let me just put this out on a Twitter poll.
Okay.
And it was, which team, did you love more? The 08 Phillies, who won the World Series, or the 93 Phillies? And majority said 08.
That's incredible.
But, John.
Okay, good. You even had to ask it.
It was 60-40.
That's incredible.
Like, that should be, with all due respect to the 93 Phillies, John Kruk on the broadcast. I love when he's on the broadcast. It should be 100% to 0. Like, one won the World Series, one didn't.
Yeah, it's not 80 versus 08. Like, it's a team that didn't
win.
win.
It was 08 versus 93.
And I could tell you as a media member, if you ever went in both clubhouses, it would be 100 to 0 the 08 team.
Right, but
because that was the worst assemblage of human beings.
We weren't talking to media members. I was talking to
Holy
fellow
moly.
Phillies fans. And there were Phillies fans, because of that magical run in 93, there was more love for the magic.
It was amazing.
Than just even though, let's face it, 08 was magic because you won with Brett Myers and Jamie Moyer as your second and third starters. Like, that lineup was great. The rotation was not.
I told you in 1993, Mike Missanelli was doing his radio show with Steve Fredericks at the time.
Awesome.
And I think that Mike and Steve Fredericks and Mike Missanelli was, to me, it was the best partner sports radio show that I maybe have ever heard in my life, period.
Mm-hmm.
Loved it. And they started the magic number in April on their show. Now, they were mocking it because the Phillies were off to this amazing start. And they started mocking it that we're going to do the magic number and count it down. And then in May, and by June, it was like, okay, this is real. This is a reality. This is happening. And they were on it early. And I remember it was a season that nobody would have ever.
Yeah.
They talk about worst to first.
And that's why I think people
Nobody
have
saw
that
it
emotional attachment. But, like, to me, did you win or did you not?
Correct.
All right, let's check the text line, 610-632-0975. How does sports impact your life positively?
They started,
negatively?
by the way, that team started just as they said. They were 35 and 15.
That's amazing.
They were 43 and 17
Oh, my God.
through their first 60 games.
That's incredible.
They were 45 and 20, 46. They were 48 and 20.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And they were not a good team.
Right.
Like, they were. That's disrespectful.
I got you.
They were a
Nobody
good team.
expected that.
They were 51 and 21 in late June. 30 games over 500. It was unbelievable.
You bought a ticket expecting them to win, much like the
it was unreal.
2011 Phillies.
Unreal.
You're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN, WPN, HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. We'll get into something Vic Fangio related here in a minute. But what do we got in the text line? And again, it's not just about emotions. This is community. It's about financial, which we'll get into at some point. But if there's any topic that you can think of on how sports impact your life, feel free to send it in. What do we got?
This one's interesting to me because I think there's probably a lot of Eagles fans out there like this, especially before they won the Super Bowl. This one's about the Sixers. No name on it, though. My dad's favorite sport was basketball. I always watched the Sixers with him growing up before he died a couple of years ago, and now I'm just angry at the Sixers. They never gave him a championship in his lifetime.
Yeah. Look, I understand that. Like, he's angry because they never won for his dad. And you're right. There probably were a lot of Eagles fans that were like that. And that's why when the Eagles won the Super Bowl in 2018, February 4th, 2018, there was emotion. Like the amount of callers I took my first shift, 2 a.m. to 5 a.m., the amount of callers that I took that were drunk coming off of Broad Street, right? This was for my dad.
Talking
this
about
was
their
for
dads
my
and
grandpa,
everything.
my brother,
It was
my
amazing.
sister, my mom, like for those who passed away. So I understand where that person's coming from.
I know I've got a picture somewhere that I can show you the day before. So I'm out in Vegas hosting the MGM Resorts Super Bowl party. I do that for like 5 years out there. I go to church Saturday afternoon before the Super Bowl. And they have a guest book at the church in Vegas. And I sign the guest book. And in the guest book, I sign all my uncles that taught me to love the Eagles that had passed. And my dad.
Yeah.
And I put them in the guest book.
That's cool.
And I was like, hey, let's just think. And I did break a rule. I've never done it in my life. I wore because I got to know the priest there because I'd go to mass there when I'd be in Vegas. And I knew that Super Bowl weekend, I'd been there before, and I'd see fan wear jerseys to church. And he would do for the fans that were in the Super Bowl. The year before it was Falcons Patriots.
Oh, that's actually kind of cool.
And it was the year before it had been Falcons Patriots.
Yeah.
And I saw him bring the fans up after communion.
That's actually kind of awesome.
He brought them on each side of the altar, and he
Those
blessed,
Vegas priests, man.
and he blessed their jerseys. And he said, I'm wishing you good health and good sportsmanship, nothing else. So I said, dude, the Eagles jerseys being worn to church. And I'm someone who never wears jeans or sneakers to church. And I did it. It was a special day, a special moment. And people did it. People brought a lot of baggage into that game.
Yeah.
Into that moment.
Yeah, oh my God.
And it's wonderful.
Absolutely. And that's why we think back to that day being, again, a top
fondly.
5 memory in anybody's life.
Oh my gosh.
And that's how much sports is important to us.
When that banner goes 3 months from tomorrow, I already thought of it today. Today's the 3rd, and I went, 3 months from tomorrow.
Oh my God, it's actually.
When that banner, when the black tarp goes off that banner on opening night, dude, there will be a few tears. Will be a few tears.
Dude, it's so funny. Just yesterday, I know. There's people. Bobby never liked this. It's already June.
Right. Well, we're still going to enjoy summer. You can still do that. You can walk and chew gum at the same time.
No, what I'm trying to say is I can't believe that it's already June 3rd. I can't believe.
Yeah,
because the Super Bowl went. Because they won the Super Bowl, because
everything got
the parade was
the parade's
February.
4 months ago.
Right.
It's crazy.
And then free agency, and then the draft.
It's amazing.
And now all of a sudden, we're 3 months and a day from football season starting again.
It's amazing.
Unreal. All right, speaking of football, Vic Fangio. Can he recreate the 2024 magic? We'll talk about this coming up next. Andrew DeCecco had an interesting story yesterday on Inside the Birds. He'll be joining us coming up at 7:25 to talk about it. We'll tell you what next. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Philadelphia Union Soccer.
They play short here. Quick Sullivan!
12 here on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic on this Tuesday morning, which means Jeff McClain, who will join us at 8:25. But before that, coming up in our next segment at 7:25, our man Andrew DeCecco is going to join us. So Andrew put out a story on InsideTheBirds.com. Who is the likeliest breakout candidate for the Eagles on offense, defense, and special teams? So we will go through that with him when he joins us coming up next. Now, on defense, they're going to need somebody. So Vic Fangio speaks today around noon, and I'm sure it'll be heard on the Mike Missanelli show. And it's the first time Vic's going to be speaking this year, or, during these OTAs.
And he enjoys this so much.
Yeah, he's a big fan of press conferences.
He really loves this.
So last year,
he's a big fan of personal interaction,
yeah,
too.
he's a big fan of it. At Phillies games, he is.
He's at the
Phillies games all the time.
He's a great dude.
So he made magic last year with that defense. I don't think anybody thought that they were going to be a bottom 5 defense, but we were hoping for middle of the pack.
I wanted 15 or above.
Right.
And I thought if they could get to 12, it would be wild. Like, that would be wildly successful.
They got to, depending on what statistic you look at, 1 or 2.
Yeah, they're 1 or 2.
Right. Like, they were one of the best defenses in the NFL last year with rookies playing key roles, guys going into their final years of their deals like a Milton Williams and a Josh Sweat playing key roles, unearthing guys like Zach Bond, figuring out how to use Nakobe Dean, and then when he got hurt, Oren Burks, using Isaiah Rodgers when Darius Slay would go out. I mean, what Vic Fangio did last year after week 4, after that Buccaneers game, and going into the bye week, and also getting Cooper DeJean to be able to play, which is a big part of it. That defense was one of the best defenses in the NFL.
They were ridiculous. They were great.
So I can't say, all right, he has to do it again this year. Like to say he's got to be number 1 or number 2 again
is absurd. Okay, because the schedule has taken a huge step up.
Right, absolutely.
But what number are you willing to slide to?
I mean, it's still got to be around the top 10.
Okay, so you're willing to go down to 10? I'm not. 10?
Top 10. Yeah,
10 would be a big
10.
drop off to me. See, you're kinder. Okay.
Well, I'm also expecting the Eagles' offense to put up more points this year. Like, I'm expecting it because I think they're going to have to throw them more.
No, they have to.
Yeah.
The offense needs to do much more.
Yeah, but you're losing your leading sack getter. You're losing your interception leader.
Right.
You're losing Milton Williams. You're losing Darius Slay, Isaiah Rodgers. Like, there's 4,000 snaps that are gone.
Can we be honest? The defense won the Super Bowl.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
and you lost players from that
So if you're
defense.
going to win another Super Bowl, the defense can't plummet. it can't become close to average.
Is 1 to 8 plummeting?
No. 8, then that's a little more palatable to me. Look, we're sitting negotiating. We're buying a car here.
Okay.
Where you're down at drivephilly.com.
Hell yeah, man.
You know, and they negotiate well, I hear. Is that so? You're looking at it going, okay, you're talking 8. I mean, if it gets to double digits, I don't know that I'm going to be happy.
Well,
with
yeah.
that.
I mean, look, but here's the deal. To Gunner's point, you lost some of your key players. There's now, we always talk about tape for guys on offense, right? There's going to be tape on, all right, why did Adam Thielen have such a good day against Cooper DeJean, right? I imagine that's going to be studied for some people. Quinyon Mitchell is now the number 1 corner on this team, whereas last year he was the number 2 corner because Darius Slay was still here. Reed Blankenship has had 2 very good seasons as a starting safety for the Eagles. They were both with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. We saw the season where he wasn't as good. CJ was no longer here. It was that in-between season.
There was nobody on an island either. This year, Keely Ringo or Adoree Jackson right now, they're going to be on an island outside against a Pickens, against a CeeDee Lamb, against a Scary Terry. Like, there's guys they're going to have to stop, and if Keely Ringo's not up to snuff, then he's out there on his own. And you start with Dallas, Kansas City, and the Rams. If Keely Ringo's not ready to go, this defense could get off to a slow start.
It could. So Vic Fangio's got his work cut out for him. And I would say, even though he was number 1 last year and that was magical, I think it would still be a magical defense if you're in that bottom half of that top 10.
May I also ask a question that will probably not be popular because we all have been on the drinking the Kool-Aid for Vic Fangio.
Yeah.
Okay. Vic Fangio gets 100% of the credit in this town.
Absolutely.
For Zach Baun. I never hear Howie get credit for Zach Baun because Howie has been incredibly gracious of being like always passing the praise of Zach Baun on to Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio told me he saw him, he loved him and everything. So no one ever gives Howie credit for Zach Baun. It's always the credit is given to Vic Fangio.
I think as it should.
Okay. You mean to tell me that Vic Fangio's eyes had nothing to do with them signing Bryce Huff?
Maybe.
Devin White?
Maybe. Well,
I don't believe it.
Devin White, I can believe. Bryce Huff, I don't know. I don't know.
Why?
Because he didn't play him. Even during training camp, he was right away saying how he wasn't that good.
Okay, so what I'm saying to you is, just be honest with me. You believe that, so he goes and tells Howie, you got to get me Zach Baun. But Howie goes, yeah, I don't need your opinion on this one. I'm giving you Bryce Huff, and I'm giving you Devin White.
See, I think Vic Fangio gets more credit on the Baun thing, not because necessarily he picked him out 1-for-1 out of free agency, because he took him from the edge rusher position, moved him to off-ball linebacker, and turned him into an all-pro.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Good.
And Bryce Huff, there was questions surrounding Huff when they first signed him. But I get what you're saying. Like I mean, he gets that Howie talks about the defense with Vic every time.
Howie gives, I believe that Vic Fangio absolutely was. Like, I've heard people go, yeah, he didn't fit, Bryce Huff didn't fit what Vic Fangio wants to do. I don't believe for 1 second that Howie Roseman just said, you're getting Bryce Huff, by the way.
Figure it out.
Because Vic Fangio had a lot of clout coming in here. And I believe he did. Right from the beginning.
And then he realized this isn't going to work, and I'm not going to play him all that much.
By the way, I give him all the credit in the world for doing that. Correcting a mistake. Yeah. He corrected. I'm not playing you.
So Andrew DeCecco wrote the story yesterday Inside the Birds. Who is the likeliest breakout candidate for the Eagles on offense, defense, and special teams? We'll go through that with him coming up next. We will answer that question later on the 7 o'clock hour, but we turn to the real football guy first. Andrew DeCecco joins us next here on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The trade compensation is in. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. On Friday, the Eagles agreed to a deal to send Bryce Huff to the San Francisco 49ers, and yesterday that move became official. In return, the Eagles will receive a 5th-round draft pick that can turn into a 4th-rounder in 2026 based on the on-field play of Huff next season. Once we know the exact criteria for that play, or if it's just a snap count, we'll let you know right here on The Fanatic. In other Eagles news, Saquon Barkley was announced as the cover athlete for Madden 26. He's the first Eagle to grace the cover of of the game since Donovan McNabb 20 years ago on Madden 06. And Vic Fangio set to speak to the media today at noon prior to today's OTA practice. We'll carry that live for you on the Mike Missanelli show at noon. After a day off, the Phillies look to end their 4-game losing skid tonight against the Toronto Blue Jays. Zach Wheeler was supposed to be on the mound, but he's now away from the team awaiting the birth of his child. Christopher Sanchez is going to get the nod tonight on the mound in his place. First pitch is tonight at 7:07. This update was brought to you by Groundworks, your expert for basement waterproofing and foundation repair since 1997. Book your free inspection at groundworks.com. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the NBA Finals, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Philadelphia sports.
Touchdown! Saquon Barkley into the second.
5 here on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. And joining us now on the Comcast Business Hotline, where every day business is a big day, let Comcast Business help you move forward with what's next. Our man from inside the birds and all over the place here on 97.5 The Fanatic, our man Andrew DeCecco. Andrew, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys.
We are excited to have you on today because you had a story come out yesterday that I loved. And I think it's great, summertime fodder for us to be able to discuss. And it's also an important one because we were just talking about Vic Fangio's defense and how he was able to create magic with that roster last year. I mean, magic. For it to be one of the top defenses in the NFL, he might have to do a little bit more of that this year. And you had the article of the breakout player on offense, defense, and special teams. So because we were just talking about Vic Fangio, let's start with the defense. I have them in front of me, but I would like you to tell the people who you believe will be the breakout candidate for the Eagles on defense and just how important his impact needs to be for this team.
Yeah, Andrew, for me, it's simple. It has to be Jalen Hunt, and I believe that it will be Jalen Hunt. When you look at how much he's transformed since being drafted, when many envisioned him being a redshirt player. He flashed a little bit in training camp. He was inactive for week 1, so I think that supported the notion that maybe he was going to be a redshirt player. Factors into the rotation by midseason. Then he's picking up a sack in the divisional round, a half sack in the Super Bowl. So that rapid progression to me suggests that he is just scratching the surface, and he's in line for a breakout season. And really, he's going to be in line to start. So that also supports my opinion here because he's going to have more opportunities to do so. And it is important that he does because they're banking on him taking that leap forward. They have Nolan Smith, of course, who's coming off the torn triceps. Azeez Ojulari is in the mix as well, but he also has an extensive injury history. Jalen Hunt, I mean, when you look at what he's been able to do in such a short period of time, I think that there should be a lot of excitement and optimism for where he's headed.
How many guys, though, are we talking about, Andrew, that they're going to count on to have breakout seasons or years bigger than anything that they've produced at the NFL level so far?
So I look at someone like Keely Ringo, John, and I think that's fair. But I'm not, like, on the defensive side, I mean, Jordan Davis as well, perhaps, but we also said the same thing last year, and there was a really young defense, and a lot of us were wondering, and you remember I was on with you guys, I thought that if they finished anywhere in the middle rankings, like 15 to 17, that would be deemed a success because of all the different moving parts. But one thing I've learned is not to discount Vic Fangio and his imprints and the coaching staff that the Eagles have because they do a really good job of player development and getting the most out of their personnel. So I wouldn't necessarily worry about that so much. They do a really good job of putting their players in position, and they identify players that fit the scheme and that all have this football acumen where they grasp things quickly, they ask a lot of questions, and they progress at a pretty rapid rate. So I don't have the concerns that I once had maybe before last offseason.
I'm curious, should Eagles fans be comfortable with the edge rusher rotation of Nolan Smith, Jalen Hunt, and Azeez Ojulari? Those are the top 3 guys. I remember having this exact same conversation last year, but at least you had some established players.
Correct.
With Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham and company, and we all know that it starts up in the middle with Jalen Carter. But should we feel comfortable with these guys on the outside being looked at as the guys for the Eagles defense this year?
Yeah, it's a good question, Andrew, and I still think that they're a little light there, but I don't believe that they're as light as maybe I thought last offseason because I am bullish on Jalen Hunt. I do think he's going to take that leap forward. I think Nolan Smith is going to be a double-digit sack guy this season. The wild card to me here is Ojulari because if he's healthy, I mean, he has 22 career sacks. He's been a productive player, and as a third edge rusher working into a rotation, I mean, that's probably one of the better third edge rushers in the NFL given the age and production that you're going to find. But then beyond that, they're really light in terms of depth. I'm not a big Josh Uche guy. Until I see it on the field, I'm going to write his name in pencil on the 53. I don't know that you can write it in pen because he hasn't been overly productive in his career aside from the 2022 season. But, yeah, I mean, I think that you could see potentially a veteran added in that area. When you assess the roster and you look at where there are the most opportunities, I would say probably edge rusher and maybe even safety, depending on how some of these young players go. But as far as the top 3 go, I feel pretty confident.
All right, Nerd Boy was a little busy over the weekend looking at Vic Fangio depth charts from 90s, 2000s, whatever. And sometimes when he has young starters, they will go and supplement with older supplemental players like sort of free agent signings, veteran guys. Do you think they will try to do that here in the coming weeks leading up into camp and then during camp?
So I have a pretty strong stance on this, John, and I think that you owe it to the players that are already on the roster, that you've invested time in, that have been through the offseason program, to go out there and prove that they earn those spots before you go out and look outside to bring somebody in. Because why stunt development and growth and opportunities if a younger player is really progressing at a good rate? But that being said, if someone's not progressing or they're not grasping the defense, maybe like, let's say, a Drew Makuba, and you have some reservations, well, then maybe you look outward and you try to get Justin Simmons or something like that. Maybe you try to add a veteran linebacker just to fill that Oren Burks type of role if you're not seeing what you're expecting to see from the young nucleus of players that you already have. But I'm a big proponent and continue to develop and see what you have there before you make any alterations.
All right, back to your story from yesterday, the breakout player, offense, defense, special teams. Let's go offense. And I love that you picked this player as your breakout player on the Eagles offense in 2025.
Yeah, running back Will Shipley. It has nothing to do with what I saw last OTAs, the last week, where he was catching everything and looked really explosive after the catch and turning upfield. He's a player that now has much more of an opportunity. Kenny Gainwell's no longer there. Will Shipley only played 65 snaps, had 30 carries for 82 yards last season. And one thing that I've learned a lot of things from talking to him every week, but I've also learned that he fixates and obsesses over whatever his role is. So as now he can focus more on being a running back and fixating on maybe the pass protection element, which he talked to me about at locker cleanout, that was going to be a focus this offseason. So if he's able to do that, he's going to be primed for a much larger role. And I like that he can add potentially another dimension to the offense in terms of being someone with the short area quickness, who can hit the home run, who can catch the football with ease, and just give that ideal change of pace running back, spelling Saquon Barkley. And I think that in a perfect world, he would be the 2 and A.J. Dillon would be the 3. But again, the opportunities line up, and I think that supports my theory that he could be the offensive breakout.
Tell me how excited you are. Defense or offense, what's more intriguing to you as far as for this team?
I've always been a defensive guy, and they have a lot of young pieces there on defense, and I like watching how Vic Fangio and his coaching staff, how they're able to develop the unit, and I'm curious to see how some of these pieces fit, so I'm more intrigued with the defense.
Now, lastly, for the article, you have Smile Mondin for special teams. I know people are probably going, all right, what do I care
Athens
about?
People love him.
What do I care about, special teams breakout player? Do you think he could do something on special teams that could eventually get him in a role on defense? Nobody's going to look to him to start right away, but sort of give me your outlook on Smile Mondin, because he's a player that intrigues a lot of people.
Well, first, it's kind of funny because a lot of folks maybe minimize the impact of special teams unless there's a big play, like Will Shipley forcing a fumble in the NFC title game, or if there's a missed kick or something like that. But Mondin, one thing that really impressed me, aside from being a 3-year starter at Georgia, Andrew, is the fact that he played over 400 snaps on special teams. You don't often see someone who's in a prominent role like that at that kind of a program that's willing to run down the field on kickoff. So that suggests to me that there's the willingness, the understanding of the importance of the third phase, and he just likes to play football and help the team any way that he can, which is it's really tracks to all the Georgia players. They all have that sense of unity and team first attitude. But I do think that he can be a situational player, perhaps as early as this season. I like his closing speed. He's a little light at 224, but he does have some pretty good range, and he's a very solid open field tackler. Knowing that he's coming from a complex system at Georgia, I don't worry about someone like that really being able to acclimate and immerse himself in the defense. So then it just becomes, is there an opportunity? And yes, there is an opportunity, but I'm just not so sure how much Vic Fangio is going to rotate his linebackers, especially if he's 4th on the depth chart.
We've got to check out all your stuff on InsideTheBirds.com. Listen to Andrew all over the place here on 97.5 The Fanatic. It was a great article.
He is everywhere.
I appreciate the content idea, and I appreciate you coming on this morning, man. We really do appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
There he is, Andrew DeCecco on the Comcast Business Hotline. Don't forget Jeff McClain for his normal Tuesday hit will be joining us coming up at 8:25. But I want us to give an answer on his conversation, on his story from yesterday. The breakout candidate on offense and on defense for the upcoming season, and just how important that breakout will be. to Andrew's point, it's not just he believes Jalix Hunt will be the breakout candidate. He needs it to be Jalix Hunt because the Eagles' pass rush, as of right now, even though we had this conversation last year, seems to be lacking in that area. So we'll give our answers coming up next, and we'll also get back to our text line about sports and how they impact our lives in many different ways off of the tumultuous day yesterday after the Phillies lost 4 straight games and getting swept by the Brewers. It is Kincade and Salciunas on this Tuesday morning, 97.5 The Fanatic. We want to hear from you, so text us at 610-63... 97.5 The Fanatic. So we just had Andrew DeCecco on, and we were talking about his article on InsideTheBirds.com of his breakout candidate, offense, defense, and special teams. Offense, he said Will Shipley. Defense, he said Jalix Hunt. Special teams, he said rookie Smile Mondon out of Georgia. So let's go around the room and give an answer. And I'll start on offense because I just think, well, first off, there's not many guys you can look to have breakout seasons, right? Like AJ Devontae, Saquon, Jalen, like
Tyler Steen becomes an all-pro.
Right, are we going to look at offensive linemen? So I'm going to go. I'll give one answer because it's a contract year for him, and they did trade for him last year. In terms of what he did last year, Jahan Dotson. Now he actually played really well his rookie season with the Commanders. So a breakout season with Philadelphia might still not be more than what he did his rookie year with the Commanders. But
which was what?
I think he finished with what? Like, did he get like 600, 700 yards? He had like 8 touchdowns?
He can't do that in this.
Right. So I'm saying in terms of what we saw last year, like I think.
Can he eclipse Quez Watkins in 2021?
Yes.
What
Like
did Quez have? 400?
Let me see here for you. Quez Watkins. Man, when's the last time somebody looked up
What, he
Quez
had, like,
Watkins?
400 yards?
Pro football. In 2022, he had 647.
Wow.
1 touchdown. Jahan Dotson, his rookie season, he had 523 yards, but 7 touchdowns.
So wait a minute. Wait. So 3 receivers did not get 3,000 yards in 2022.
Correct. They're going to throw the ball more this year.
But the top 2 are going to account for 2,500 of them.
Yeah, but remember, Jahan Dotson was literally a non-factor in. Let me look up his game logs. I bet you there
were plenty of games
where he didn't get targets.
My knowledge of it was that he wasn't really grasping what they needed him to do.
Right, and so now with a full training camp, OTAs, all that kind of, and plus
it shouldn't be that hard
but John,
for a wide receiver.
Hey, contract year, we talk about that.
Went to
all the
Penn
time.
State, man. It's hard.
Well, believe me, I'm sure the basket weaving was hard.
He had 3 games last year where he did not get a target. He had 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games where he had 1 target.
Wide receiver's not a hard progression into the NFL. It's not like one where you go, it's a big steep learning curve at wide receiver, and it's not really that kind of position.
Well, he's also never played the slot necessarily.
Right, he's going from an outside. What? You roll your eyes, but it's true. He's going from an outside role with the Commanders where he got more targets to he has to figure out what his role is with this team. And that's look, when you go from being the guy, or it's 1A, 1B with Terry McLaurin, to you're now behind AJ, Devontae, and Saquon and Dallas Goedert. You know, that's going to change you.
Jalen Hurts too. Like Jalen Hurts gets more runs than
maybe
Saquon
if you're
Barkley.
Mopey, it does. Yeah, it does.
Or Jalen has to look his way, which, let's face it,
I think Jalen did
target.
I think Jalen did look his way.
Man, there was that one game. What was the team where he had him? It was it was during the first 4 weeks when it was bad. He had him wide open. Remember, his eyes were on him. And then he turned, and it was the interception. The Saints.
It was the Saints game.
Interception to Devontae Smith. Even though they won that game, he's eyeing up Dotson wide open, and then he turns and fires to Devontae Smith, who was in double coverage. So some of it could also be on Jalen. Not that Jalen's bad, but Jalen not comfortable with him.
Well, you see trust or what he believes he sees in practice too. That's a lot of time where trust comes into play.
Well, that's my answer.
I heard a lot of things last year about that it wasn't meshing.
All right, well, I'm giving you my answer, John. I think he has a breakout season considering what he did last year. Who would your offense is tough because
offense is brutal.
Yeah,
like it's a brutal.
Unless you think like Calcaterra is better in year 2 or something.
Yeah, I mean that's a brutal one to me. To me, it's got to be if I'm going on offense, I can't. Like, there's nobody.
No, I think it's DeCecco's answer.
Shipley.
I think it's Shipley because he's the perfect change of pace back to Saquon.
Andrew wants it to be Shipley, big time. I mean, he really does. He's Shipley'd out. I mean, he is a big Shipley guy.
Yeah, but when you think about it, he's going to be the change of pace back. And there's not many options out there on offense. Can Will Shipley come in and do something in the passing game a little bit? Can he come in here and learn how to pass block and get on the field and then sneak a couple of long runs in there? I think that's all you can ask for on a breakout player on this offense that has all pros everywhere.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great if we saw that. I like the Will Shipley pick. So I'm hoping that what Andrew sees in practice, translates to the playing field. That's something we get to see.
All right, what do you got defense? Because I do have a player in mind.
Okay, to me, this is one that it's not that it's going to happen. It has to happen. To me, it is complete and utter failure if Kelee Ringo is not a contributor to this team. It a rotational piece or otherwise. It is a complete and utter failure. And it is on him. It's on him. Because I've seen too many other players be developed and I'm a Kelee Ringo fan. Mm-hmm. Mama Ringo, I love you. If you're listening, I'm telling you right now, it'll be on Kelee, it's on him, and it will be a failure. Because this defense has developed so much talent, especially out of Georgia. It's him. It's him. And it's got to be. I think it's required that he step up and be a big part of this defense in a rotational situation.
Yeah. Okay.
Number one.
I will give you insert player's name next to Jalen Carter, either Ojomo or Ty Robinson, whoever ends up getting more snaps between the two. They have to because you lost Milton Williams. And, oh, by the way, Jalen Carter is so good that you're going to have so many one-on-one battles. I think one of those guys makes a name for them.
Well, Ty Robinson's got to get more opportunity, right?
Right. That's why I go Ojomo. That's why I say insert player name. Like I think Ojomo gets the first crack at it.
That is something I'm going to be looking for when training camp comes. Andrew to have his eyes on. Who's getting the opportunities most to show what they can do? Because Robinson, to me, is the guy that I think they're going to want to show.
Yeah, 4th-round pick, whereas Ojomo's 7th, right?
7th, I believe.
Yeah.
But they're going to want him. They're going to want Robinson to show that he's there. And by the way, he had tongues wagging last week.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
A lot of people love it. But can't you see Ojomo being the next guy where like Chris Collinsworth on Sunday Night Football saying, how do they keep finding these guys? Here's another 7th-round pick.
Yes.
Like I could see that happening because of what Jalen Carter does.
Sure.
And that's what it really comes down to. Jalen Carter is a guy that's going to eat up so much attention by offensive linemen and offensive schemes that somebody else is going to be able to break free. It's just up to them to do it.
Hunter, who do you got?
I have to go with Ringo, but for the sake of a conversation, John already said it. Is it fair to say a Reed Blankenship? Because we need somebody to step up at the safety position.
I don't think that's unfair.
He has not done it without CJGJ next to him. He was not that great in 2023 without him next to him. Can he step up and be that interceptor leader on this team this year?
Andrew just roots against him.
Oh, my God. Here we go. Now,
we heard all offseason about how he's the next leader in line.
Yes.
Can he step up and be that and be a guy that we are comfortable with out there at deep safety without CJGJ?
That's a big point.
Here.
It's not just, him on the field. He's going to be the leadership council, as Darius Slay said, and then that's what caused the ruckus with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and the crash out online, and now he's not here anymore.
Dude, Jimmy Kempski I don't know if you saw his breakout candidate article, he put Jordan Davis as a candidate. It piqued my interest a little bit.
He needs to be, and one of the things that's interesting is you can read a lot about D tackles that in year 4, year 5, that they just explode. They come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And if you go look at the career of Brandon Graham, like Brandon Graham, he's a little bit of a different character as far as position, what he's asked to do. But Brandon Graham at this point, Philadelphia thought he was a bust.
Jordan Davis, 2 sacks one in the NFC Championship game, 1 in the Super Bowl. Can he build on that and break out as a pass rusher?
Absolutely could, man. Again, it all comes around Jalen Carter and what he does for them. All right, coming up next, we'll reset our topics. Again, I want to get back to the discussion about sports and how it impacts our lives. We'll check text messages on it. But also, we have a new curse, or an old curse, to keep an eye on. It's going to make John Kincade so thrilled to have this conversation.
Here it is.
It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Details on the Huff trade. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. On Friday, the Eagles agreed to send Bryce Huff to the San Francisco 49ers, and yesterday that move became official. In return, the Eagles are going to receive a 5th-round pick that can be turned into a 4th-rounder in 2026 based on on-field play of Huff next season. Once we know the exact criteria for that, whether it's snap count, tackle count, sack count, we will let you know right here on the Fanatic. In other Eagles news, Saquon Barkley was announced as the cover athlete for Madden 26. He's the first Eagle to grace that cover ever since Donovan McNabb 20 years ago on Madden 06. And Vic Fangio set to speak to the media today at noon prior to today's OTA practice. We'll carry that live for you right here on the Mike Missanelli Show. After a day off, the Phillies look to end their 4-game losing skid tonight against the Toronto Blue Jays. Zach Wheeler was supposed to be on the mound, but he's away from the team awaiting the birth of his child. Christopher Sanchez is going to get the nod in his place tonight. First pitch is tonight at 7:07. This update was brought to you by the New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety. We all play a role in keeping roads safe. Watch for pedestrians, give 4 feet when passing, and slow down. Let's look out for each other. Safety is shared. Brought to you by the New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the NBA Finals, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Bill Colarulo.
We say they can't play small ball. Well, they were playing small ball in the beginning.
We have today's headlines with Brendan Gunn coming up around 8:12ish, whatever time we started at. And of course, we reset our topics here on this Tuesday morning, Johnny. So yesterday it was a day where just there's a lot of anger and confusion surrounding this Phillies team, right? Because it was a horrible, horrible weekend where they get swept by the Brewers, losers of 4 straight games, giving up 17 runs on Saturday. It was just abysmal. And so we started talking about sports and how we allow them to impact our lives, or how they impact our lives. Because there's the emotional side of things when it comes to sports, obviously the joy and celebration when things are going well, but there are some people that allow a single loss impact them in a way where it ruins their day. Like either later that day or the next day.
Gunnar admitted it sets his weeks off.
Yeah, after losing in a playoff series.
That's
A playoff
crazy.
series, I understand. Like
a regular season Eagles win will ruin my week too. It will.
The end of the season loss is the only one that I think that the next day is still bothering me.
Phillies D-backs bothered me for a few days.
Oh, it's terrible.
for a few days
But
when they
as far
lost
as
that
ruining
series.
a day, yeah.
Nah, the loss to the Falcons this year came in here with probably 2 hours of sleep. Lost a ton of sleep on that one. Losing to the Bucks the way we did. Luckily, obviously, we went and won 10 games afterwards. But that was a long 2 weeks for me getting back to after the bye.
Yeah, but I love this conversation because there's so many branches to it, and like one of them is financial. And Johnny, you know what's funny? I forgot to tell you this. Yesterday, after our show came to an end, I got multiple. Joe G, one of our emailers, but then DMs and tweets from people that wanted to keep the conversation going on what you do when you buy a ticket to a game that's a blowout.
Okay.
Because let's face it, there's also the financial implications when it comes to going to a sporting event or playing in sports, or you're buying all the bats and all that kind of stuff, right? So I had multiple people saying, this is what I do when the Phillies are getting blown out. Walk around the concourse. I had one guy tell me about, look, if I already lost the money, I might as well make the most of it, even though it's giving them money back by buying beers and all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't want to leave. There were a lot of people that said they don't leave during blowouts, not because they think the team might come back, but because they paid to get into the building, they don't want to leave.
Now, what's crazy is, though, is I hear this from people. Like, oh, I don't leave. And then I look at the stands and I go, well, then it's one of those things where, like, 80% of the people leave.
Right, 80%, but there are people that don't.
There are the oddballs.
Or they're not in the stands. They're at Pass and Stowe.
It might be, yeah. That's what I said.
They're perusing around Ashburn Alley at the team store, getting something to eat.
Sure.
The wiffle ball field is always packed, right? Like, especially
when it's bad,
in a
you mean?
blowout. Yeah, oh my God, yeah.
Oh yeah, when
the game's bad.
See, not having a boy. I mean, we walked past it, but never.
Oh, I tried taking him to it, but it was mobbed, and I was like, all right, buddy, when you're older.
A little older.
Yeah, when you're a little older. You're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN, WPN, HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. What do we got on the text line, Gunner? Again, this can go in so many different directions. How does sports impact your life? What role does it play in your life? What do we got?
Yeah, ironically enough, we're talking about money. We had somebody check in about money on the text line. Rob in Bucks County said, I used to run a retail store downtown for about 7 years. I was a huge fan before and after, but having your work directly connected to wins and losses is intense, and it adds another layer to it.
Oh, that's...
so if you own a store that is affected to it, like, I mean...
think about Rally House.
I was
when
there.
They win.
I was there half hour after they won. Not even, like a half hour after they won, we were at the Rally House in Exton.
Yeah.
And it was packed.
Yeah.
I live streamed it. It was crazy.
Think about the local people that just create gear, right? Like the artists that draw something and then they throw it onto a T-shirt.
They had that guy, last year that collected shirts outside the stadium that people made for like 20 years and then had the whole art exhibition about it.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
That was really cool. I forget who that was.
I love the fact that we bullied
Jeff McDevitt. Was it
I think
Jeff
it
who did
was
that?
him.
Is that it was?
Yeah.
We bullied the people in the Rally House in Exton, too. The guys these guys tried to come in and buy all the shirts.
Right.
And we were like, hell no.
No, let other people buy that.
And
right.
literally, we literally were like, no, you're not doing this. You're not doing it. We're put down. Grab a couple shirts. You're not doing it.
Community.
Yeah, we did.
Community right
and
there.
And the community was going to kick these two guys' asses.
I have another community note because I'm thinking about, I was telling you about the COVID when I did that Twitter poll about the 93 Phillies versus 08. And I saw MBD checking it on the YouTube chat saying, look, that was also during a time where no teams were really playing good sports.
It was terrible.
So I also understand why the Phillies were like the beacon of light back then.
Right.
When, again, doing shows during COVID here in Philly, I remember when the news came out that football looked like it was coming back, but there wasn't going to be fans in the stands, and they were not going to allow tailgating. I spoke with people, and they were dead serious, John, that said, if I can't have the full game day experience, I don't want the sport back. Now, to me, that was crazy.
That's nuts.
Also, look, we talk sports for a living, so
Sure.
It was tough times when we didn't have sports to talk about. But there were people that were like, look, the game day experience for me is getting to the K-Lot at 7 a.m. for a 1 o'clock game and being with my friends, being with my family that I've spent so many Sundays with, going into the game, or watching it from the lot on the big RV with the TV on the side of it. I had conversations with people back then, back in 2020, that said, look, if I can't go to the game or if I can't have the full experience, I don't want it back.
Okay, did that change? Because remember, we got acquainted as later on in that fall, but did that change?
I think there were people that were weirded out by the lack of fans, but I think everybody watched. Like, there was nobody that boycotted watching.
I mean, because it's unfathomable to me.
Because it was terrible.
It was pretty terrible.
It was terrible.
But at least it was back. But there were people that were like, look, Eagles football is not just about the fandom of the Eagles, right? It's everything that goes along with it. You know, these people that have been having these tailgates for like 30, 40 years.
And they park next to the same people most likely, and they don't see them outside of that.
Right.
They're like acquaintances, probably text them every once in a while, but they see them for 8 Sundays a year, and that's it. And they're always going to run it back.
That's the beauty of the community, and that's why people felt that way, even though they were coming back and there was no fans in the stands. All right, give us one more text message, and then we got to talk about a curse, John.
Oh, yeah.
That you just laugh at.
We got Stan and Yardley checking in saying, I believe sports are the centerpiece of the family table. It's the topic that is always talked about at every family gathering, no matter which major sport it is. The Eagles, however, carry enough weight where a loss certainly affects my overall mood and mojo until at least about Wednesday after a loss.
Wednesday.
Oh, my gosh. Like, I mean, I don't know.
See, by Wednesday, I'm looking toward the next week.
Your husband's, okay, when you're single and you got nobody to answer to, when you're a kid, okay. But when you're a husband, you're a father, you're in a relationship, you're a professional in the workplace, are you serious?
Hey, what if your partner also feels that way? Then all of a sudden that house is insane for 3 days.
Oh, my gosh. That's crazy.
If you let it affect your personal relationships and work, then you got to fix that. But in my spare time, I'm sitting there thinking about a Saquon Barkley drop every waking moment until they go out there and win again.
That Falcons game, right? We're like, oh my God, how did he drop that pass?
Exactly. Like, that's what I'm thinking about.
Now, good job, Brendan. Speaking of Saquon Barkley.
Here we go.
Saquon Barkley is your cover athlete for Madden 26, Johnny.
Uh-huh.
And the Madden curse scares are happening for people.
Uh-huh.
You want to expand on it? Because I know you're all about curses and jinxes.
This is the level. Now, I want you to just expound on it.
So, it was real.
No, it was never real.
It was
never real.
It was real.
It was never real.
Mr. Non-NFL Madden player.
Coincidence was there. It was never real, boys.
There was a stretch of like 7 out of 10 years where a guy got hurt or straight up sucked when they were on the Madden cover.
Peyton Hillis almost died.
Peyton Hillis, you're right.
7 out of 10 does not make
blows
it real.
Up his leg.
7 out of 10 doesn't make it real. Now, if it was 10 out of 10 and the cover had anything to do with the injuries, they slipped on the game cover.
Listen to this stat. The last 4 running backs that were on the cover of Madden.
Geez, you're going to scare people.
Christian McCaffrey last year
Yep.
played 4 games. Barry Sanders played 0 games because he didn't play the year he was on the cover.
He didn't play.
Peyton Hillis only played 10 games, and Sean Alexander only played 10 games.
Okay, here's why. You want to go through them again for me?
Yes, Christian McCaffrey, 4 games last
Crystal
year.
McCaffrey. Crystal McCaffrey has been a piece of china for his entire career. Go on.
Barry Sanders is on the cover
Barry
10
Sanders, he
20
retired.
years after
And
he
then
was retired.
Go on.
Peyton Hillis
Peyton
almost
Hill- by the way-
died in the ocean.
By the way, Peyton Hillis, who is a guy who
he beat out Michael Vick, and it was
'cause
nonsense.
They didn't want to do Vic twice.
Peyton
That's
Hillis,
why.
they did exactly. Peyton Hillis only got
And
there.
Sean Alexander coming off
And
that rushing when he set the touchdowns
and
record.
Sean
the year
Alexander
before.
had the record of the couple years, and when he had
And guess who's also coming off a record?
Look at that.
I'm not
Isn't
trying to
that
scare the
great?
people.
He's
The
buying
numbers-
into. You're all bought into the
I'm
Madden
scared,
curse,
man. I'm scared.
By the way, I do love the cover though. It's awesome with the.
It is beautiful cover
It's
art.
the reverse hurdle, like which is super cool.
Don't give me Crystal McCaffrey on anything, for God's sakes. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady.
Not
if you're just
running backs.
Lamar Jackson. If you're just going to this, now it's a running back curse, or is it a Madden cover?
It
curse?
was Madden, and
You
now
guys-
it's Madden running back.
Now we're going to spin it off into something else. Stop with the curses.
You're PO and the Madden guys.
You're not
Yes, I am.
yeah, you know what? You better pipe down over there, Mr. Kincade.
By the way, Mr. Madden is dead, so he's not issuing
because
curses.
he was on the cover.
Stop. He was on the cover after he died.
not issuing curses. Believes.
I actually just found a website that had whether or not they were cursed or not.
Really?
Wait, it's on CBS. Oh
Really?
my god! All right, I'll go. We'll have some.
Oh, jeez.
We'll have some
No.
fun. We'll
Oh,
go.
jeez.
I'll go through this with you guys coming up. All right, and of course we have today's headlines with Brendan Gunn. Coming your way next. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Mike Missanelli.
You can't do anything about physical error.
Brennan Gunn coming up here in a minute. But Johnny, I found an article on CBS. CBS, man. So this isn't
Well, then
like
it's got to be true.
This isn't like
The network of Dan Rather. It's got to be true.
MaddenFans.com. It was CBS Sports. They broke down each Madden cover.
Seriously, how slow a sports day was it when the editor said, "You know what? Do this story today. Do this." There's a bunch of mouth breathers that want to know what is the percentage? What is the percentage, Andrew?
All right, so it has come down a little bit, which is good.
A little bit. I can look back 10, 12 years and see it's not even a fixture.
But just last year was Christian McCaffrey.
Crystal McCaffrey.
From
for God's sakes.
So out of all the covers, they say that 14 of the 24 athletes, which is 58%, have been cursed. But just 3 out of the last 10 years.
I will dispute that number.
Why is that?
Completely dispute the number. Why? Because it's arbitrary how they're ruling people are cursed. There's a drop-off in play. Well, guess what? This year, the Eagles' defense drops from 1st to 5th. The Eagles had a drop-off in play. Yeah, they did. That is factually correct. That's not a curse. It's not a curse.
Oh,
the Eagles play tougher opponents. It's not a curse. I mean, Josh Allen, well, one year he got to one round, one year he got the next round. Not a curse. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd. But knock on wood, we won't have any more of these.
Hell yeah, man. You better knock on
Everybody
wood.
in Philadelphia, send your hate mail to John Kincade just in case anything does happen.
Seriously, it's his fault.
Yeah, you believe in curses.
By the first one ever was Eddie George in 2001. George went on the rush for more than 1,500 yards in his cover season, but he lost a career high in fumbles, coughed up the ball in the Titans' season-ending playoff game, and never averaged more than 3.4 yards per carry the rest of his career. That's a curse, John.
Yeah, it was
Big
a curse. Yeah, it was.
It's time now for today's headlines with Brendan Gunn.
Today's headlines with the one and only Brendan Gunn.
Brought to us by who, Gunner?
The one and only Lundy Law. For over 70 years, Lundy Law has been fighting for injured people. If you need them, remember the name, Lundy Law, your injury lawyers. Visit LundyLaw.com. That's LundyLaw.com. And today we're going to start with something that's kind of parallel to sports. There's a lot of running in sports, and these guys have been on the run for 19 days in a row. Most of them got caught already, but Antoine Massey, one of the New Orleans escaped prisoners, has decided to go viral. He decides he's going to go on Instagram after day 19, and he posts a video reaching out to Philadelphia's own Meek Mill, Kim Kardashian, Lil Wayne.
Well, Lil Wayne gets involved.
Can you get me out of jail?
That's great.
Please, get me out of jail free card. He's innocent. As a matter of fact, he didn't escape prison. They let him out because they know he's innocent. One of the inside workers that was an inside job. But for you guys, if you escaped jail,
wait, hold on. I've missed.
He's on the loose.
He went on Instagram back in jail, or he's still on the loose?
No, he's on the run. He posted an Instagram video yesterday, a 10-minute pleading his case of why he's innocent. Meek Mill, come help the guy out. He's innocent.
All right, so go on. What's your question?
If you were happen to end up in jail and you somehow escaped out the back door, could you get over or under 19 days out? And who would be the first person you would contact to help you out that wouldn't be inconspicuous and get you caught?
I could absolutely last. No question. And I would,
over 19
I have
days.
enough people. Absolutely, because I'm not as reliant on electronics, and I'm also have a large family that I could rely on with a lot of different.
You don't think you'd get caught that way?
No, I don't. There's a lot of places to hide. A lot of places to hide.
Wow, you thought this one.
Oh yes, I've thought it out many times.
What stuff are you doing once you leave work that
many times
you thought about this?
Thought it many times.
I don't know if I could make 19 days. I don't know who I'd call though. Like that's like look, mom and dad, right? But like
you're gonna get caught right away.
Right. That's like the first.
No, you don't call. Well, first thing, you do not call.
You've thought about this.
You do not call. Do you know how many? My wife has made me watch every single.
Yeah, you probably know.
48 hours, everything, and the stupidity of killers and stuff that like break out of jail or people, and they immediately start doing stupid stuff. They like go to family.
Stupid people do stupid things.
That's true. They immediately like reach out to family. They don't lay low. They do not lay low.
Yeah, you got to lay low.
You got to lay low.
I just
You
watched.
have
Goodfellas told me that.
You got to be prepared to. You got to be prepared.
Can't buy the pink Cadillac right away after the big steal.
And if someone knows that you're breaking out of jail, and you're preparing to break out of jail, you got to have the hiding spot fixed for them way in advance.
That's a good point. This guy's thought this one out.
Yes, I've thought.
So I continued my Twitter scroll yesterday trying to find stories, and then I come across 2027 four-star quarterback recruit Gunnar Rivers.
Yes.
Going on a recruiting trip to Texas.
Okay.
Phillip Rivers' kid. And I have a question for John as the old guy on our show. And then a question to
By
Chunas.
default on this show.
Chunas, does it make you feel old when you see a Phillip Rivers coming in to replace Peyton Manning's nephew in college? And John, is it something, when do you get used to this feeling? Because I feel like an old, decrepit human being now that I'm seeing guys that I watched growing up and their kids going to college. Like Donovan McNabb Jr.'s kid is about to be in college. Like, what the hell's going on?
I remember when Phillip Rivers was getting recruited out of high school in the South and got married his senior year of high school. He got married before going to college. So he went to college with baggage. He broke the rule of don't bring sand to the beach, which was always an adage that I was taught. And so he got married when he was 17. And I think he's got like 11 kids, 12 kids.
Yeah, him and Antonio Cromartie.
I mean, no. He's married. He's married with
He
one
knows
woman.
all of their names.
He created a family, yes.
When do you get used
Not
to
Anthony Edwards this offseason.
When do you get used to seeing players you grew up watching and their kids
You'll never get used to it. You're just going to go, wow. Oh
yeah,
my God.
when Asante Samuel Jr. got to the league, like that was kind of like
what the hell?
I grew up watching his dad. So, like, I think you never get used to it, to John's point. The first moment I remember realizing, like, not that I'm going nowhere in life, because, it's going pretty well. When Nerlens Noel got drafted, and I realized that he was younger than me, that's
the hard one.
I was in my college apartment. It was sophomore year, and he got drafted after his freshman season, and I was like, oh, my God, I'm older. Wow. I'm older than that guy, and that draft pick right there just made him more money than I'm going to make probably my entire life.
Ruben Amaro Jr. and I were high school same year. His dad was with the Phillies as a player coach. And then Rube was bat boy. And then Rube becomes the assistant general manager.
That's crazy,
general manager, now broadcaster. I mean, you go through things and you go, holy gosh.
Where'd the time go?
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable.
But you're only as old as you feel, and
man.
That is not, by the way, that's not just words.
That's
it really
true.
is.
These donuts are catching up every time I see Gunnar Rivers pop up on the timeline.
Donuts.
All right, coming up next, our man Jeff McClain joins us as he does each and every Tuesday. We talk about the Eagles with Jeff McClain from The Inquirer here next on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The compensation is in. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. On Friday, the Eagles agreed to a deal to send Bryce Huff to the San Francisco 49ers, and yesterday that move became official. In return, the Eagles are going to receive a fifth-round pick that can turn into a fourth-rounder in 2026 based on the on-field play of Huff next season. Once we know the exact criteria for that, whether it's a snap count, sack count, we will let you know right here on The Fanatic. In other Eagles news, Saquon Barkley was announced as the cover athlete for Madden 26. He's the first Eagle to grace the cover since Donovan McNabb 20 years ago on Madden 06. And Vic Fangio is set to speak to the media today at noon prior to today's OTA practice. We'll carry that live for you today on the Mike Missanelli Show. After a day off, the Phillies look to end their four-game losing skid tonight against the Toronto Blue Jays. Zach Wheeler was supposed to be on the mound, but he is away from the team awaiting the birth of his child. Christopher Sanchez is going to get the nod tonight in his place. First pitch is tonight at 7:07. This update was brought to you by Hand & Stone. It's glow time, and you've earned it. Relax and renew at Hand & Stone Massage and Facial Spa. Their facials deliver real results and soothing care. Now's the perfect time to start your Hand & Stone journey. Visit handandstone.com today. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the NBA Finals, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Live here on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. We are going to be joined here momentarily by our man Jeff McClain, who joins us every single Tuesday here. But real quick, Johnny,
Tuesday.
Before we get to Jeff.
Yeah.
So I forgot to bring this email up not long ago from a guy named Brian.
What's up,
I
Brian?
don't know if he wants his full name out there.
Not from Family Guy.
So Brian emails me. And Brian used to work at EA.
Okay.
With Madden.
Okay.
And he sent me a photo of him, shaking Madden's hand, John Madden's hand.
Okay.
There's a documentary on the Madden franchise.
Which was brilliant.
And you could see him in it. My man
Right.
Brian.
Sure.
From Ardmore.
Okay.
He just emails me. I heard you all talking about the Madden curse. It was a real thing.
No, it's not a real thing.
This guy works for EA.
That doesn't make it real.
He said it all started
That
when
doesn't
we
make it
decided
real.
to take Madden off the cover.
Oh, geez.
In 01, my last year at EA, we decided to put Eddie George on the cover. And after that, the curse started. His fantasy football team name is the Madden curse.
Thank you for your service.
Damn right, man.
Is that it? Thank you for your service.
Madden's a great game. All right, joining us
It
now
is
on
a
the
great-
Comcast
it is a
Business
great game.
Hotline. Every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business help you move forward with what's next. You got to experience the new look of the Inquirer Sports, where fans can read, watch, and listen to their favorite reporters and columnists. Go to theinquirer.com/sports. We'll talk actual football, not just curses, with our man Jeff McClain. Jeffrey, good morning, man. How you doing?
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good, buddy.
We're doing good. Obviously, you had your first chance to see the team last week with OTAs. I know minicamp will be continuing before we get to training camp, but sort of some of your first reactions that sort of popped off, maybe some of the younger players, anything catch your eye last week at the beginning of OTAs, Jeff?
Not much in terms of performance or scheme. I guess it's just probably more the depth chart stuff is what we're most concerned with, or at least what I was concerned with, where they had guys, although obviously at this point, right, the depth chart is more a seating chart, as Chip Kelly used to say. Safety, they had, Andrew Makuba and Sidney Brown kind of at that spot. Reed Blankenship wasn't at OTAs. He had a medical issue. He'll be fine. But, hard to kind of decipher who they have, one ahead of the other, at that spot. But my guess will be between those two. They kind of rotated a few other safeties in that spot, but clearly that job is up for grabs. At right guard, you had Tyler Steen. I think he was there for most of the day. But I think most of us anticipated him kind of being given every opportunity to win that job. We'll see. There's other guys that are vying for it, so I don't think they're just going to hand it to him. Jeremiah Trotter was at the off-ball linebacker spot opposite, Zach Bond. We'll see how that ends up. Jahad Campbell is still not practicing. He's injured, coming off the shoulder surgery. I guess those are. And then outside cornerback was the other one that I think there was some intrigue, and it seemed like Adoree Jackson, took most of the reps with the first team. Keely Ringo worked in there as well, and then we actually saw Cooper DeJean outside and base personnel outside cornerback. I think, at some point that's where he's going to end up. I don't know if he's going to end up there full time. I imagine if he does end up there in base, starting quote unquote, he'll move back into the slot and nickel. But look, this is your second round pick. Obviously, he played well as a rookie. They expect a lot out of him, and when you have one of your better player, we have a guy of his caliber, you want him on the field as much as possible. So my guess is that at some point we'll see Cooper DeJean out there full time.
Jeff, should it concern fans that, obviously all the exit of the veterans should concern fans a bit, but they're going to ask a lot of guys to have sort of years that they've never had in the NFL as far as production. And they're going to ask them to play really, really big roles that they've never had in the NFL before.
You think on the defensive side?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's several of those guys, right? They invested in them in the draft, and at some point they're just going to have to step up and perform. And if not, they have gone out and gotten veterans to kind of offset what maybe those younger guys potentially could lack, right? Adoree Jackson would be the guy at cornerback, although, right now it could be him end up starting there, right? At safety, I'd imagine they'll probably bring someone else in there, but Tristan McCollum's played a fair amount. I don't think that's the guy that's the answer, but I think, they'd be a little concerned about the lack of experience at safety. Tyler Steen has started at guard before. Has he been a regular starter? No. If we're going over to the offensive side of the ball, because that's the lone spot really that there's any competition at. But you're going to get that around the league. That's typically going to happen with almost every team. You're going to have some positions where you're just going to have to, you're wishing and hoping a little bit. And the Eagles certainly have that, and they had it a little bit last year heading into the season as well.
Last week, you reported that there was a mutual agreement between Bryce Huff and the Eagles for him not to show up to OTAs. And then
Great reporting, by the way.
And credit to you. And then a few days later, he gets traded to the San Francisco 49ers. What went into the mutual agreement for him to not come to OTAs last week?
And they said, you're not going to be on the team next year, and we're looking to trade you, and we're going to try and find a better spot for you. And because you're not going to play here, or you're not, even if we keep you, you're not going to play at all. And Bryce Huff wants to play, and he wants to play in a scheme that he thinks plays to his skill set. And I think that's essentially what went down. So stay away from OTAs as we work on a deal to get you in a good spot. And quite frankly, it's probably a good best spot for him because he's going to go play for Robert Salah, who he played with and thrived under with the New York Jets, a scheme that he thrived in. It's kind of just like a situational edge rusher on pass downs. That's what he's going to be with San Francisco. And here, with the Eagles, they signed him to do more. And it just, but the scheme is different. It didn't work out, and that's why he's not here. That being said, this was obviously a bad signing, and they're going to have to pay. They're on the hook a lot financially still for him, in terms of cash and cap. So, I probably was remiss with not really mentioning the edge rusher position when we spoke earlier about position battles, et cetera. Yeah, Nolan Smith is going to be starting at one spot and had a nice really good second season. Really took a next step forward. But, to be that number one guy, he hasn't quite done that yet. And then you look at the other side, with no Josh Sweat, a guy that you could rely on to be somewhere in the 7.5 to 10 sack, 12 sack range. Right now, I guess Jalix Hunt is penciled into that spot, and I think Jalix, when called upon late last year, his production increased. But that's a lot. That's not nearly what they're going to ask for him this second season. They went and signed some other free agents, Aziz Ojulari, Josh Uche. Those guys have done it before, but maybe Eagles are hoping for them to play a little more like they did in previous seasons. So the edge rusher position is a position of concern, and you go back to the Huff signing, and they're kind of in this position right now because that was not that was like basically the lone poor signing that Howie Roseman had made entering last season. But to his credit, it didn't affect them at all, and they won a Super Bowl. But moving forward, it's going to affect them in terms of the cap and how much they have to spend in cash.
Jeff, just to put a bow on the whole Huff thing, the last offseason, the Zach Bond signing seemed to get all the credit was given to defensive coordinator Vic Fangio for finding him, scouting him, saying he's the guy. Howie really got no credit for that. Do you believe Vic Fangio had a lot of say in Huff coming here, in Devin White coming here? Because those were two big swing and misses.
Well, look, to get back to Bond. Now Howie and his staff, they scouted him and they brought him to Fangio and thought, okay, yeah, this guy does have versatility. So it's not like a black or white thing, right? Everybody's involved in that process, and Vic certainly was the one that said, no, this is what he is, and I see him this way, and it became that. So Vic deserves a lot of credit, but the scouting department, Howie and the scouting department were the ones who kind of brought him to him and saw that he had that potential, and had been on him for a while. So credit goes around to multiple people for that. And then when it comes to Huff, from what I understand, it was no. Vic hey, look at him. What do you think? I don't think Vic was as like, this is someone that yeah, I mean, he's going to sign off on him. They're going to go to Vic. He's going to watch the film. But sometimes, there's a little more of like, hey, this is the scouting department. This is who we really like. This is who we're going to sign. This is who we're going to invest in. The coach that maybe not have as much say. And I'm not trying to like give more credit to Vic than he deserves, or take more away from the scouting department than maybe they deserve. But in this case, they got this one wrong. But yeah, I would think it's fair to say that, yeah, probably Vic didn't have as much say in this one as he did in how Vaughn eventually developed. But I mean, Vic was the one who said, like, hey, very early in last offseason when, I think I was the one who asked the question. In fact, I was the one who asked the question because I knew that he'd never really defended the run. And I knew that was going to be something that's going to be required of him in terms of this scheme, how he's going to defend the run. And he's like, yeah, it's something he can't do right now. Very early in camp, and it's like, okay. They signed this guy to $17 million a year contract, and he can't do one of the things that you're required to do in this scheme. Obviously, that's the way it played out, and it wasn't just that; it was other factors as well.
Jeff, listen, man, we appreciate the time as always. I forgot to bring it up last week. I forgot to congratulate you on your Spurs, man. Tottenham with the big win. I know you were all fired up with that last week.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for all those Premier League fans out there, I know there's tons that are listening on yeah, they won. They finally won a trophy, first time in 17 years. It's not maybe like one of the top tier ones, but it gets in the Champions League for anybody who knows, obviously, the meaning of that. Otherwise, it's been a dreadful season in the Premier League. But we somehow managed a way to get a trophy and have some celebration. It's like winning the NIT.
Okay.
To put it in perspective.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I know you're a big fan, so you tweet about them. So that's good. I'm happy for you, Jeff.
Well, it's like winning the NIT, but gaining instant entry into the NCAA tournament without having even play the following season.
Okay.
Like so there's benefit to that. That's the way I would describe it to you guys.
Well, congratulations to you and your squad, Jeff. We appreciate the time as always, man. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
There he is, Jeff McClain on the Comcast Business Hotline. He's a big soccer fan. I think he still plays, if I'm not mistaken.
Jeff is
like in adult leagues.
One of the most well-dressed members of the media every week.
He's a soccer player, man.
Notated by his peers across the NFL.
Yeah, look, he had the Huff story before anyone else.
As the top beat writer in the NFL.
But he hates the Eagles.
Yeah, but he hates the Eagles. It's terrible.
All right, coming up next.
Great guy.
We'll check some of our text messages, but also sticking with the Eagles for another segment. A Super Bowl champion retired yesterday. We'll tell you who and how we remember him next. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Connor Thomas.
Lazard's made 11, 12 starts this year. 11 of them have been sight.
here on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. It is a Tuesday morning.
It's a beautiful Tuesday.
It is a beautiful Tuesday.
Looks gorgeous outside. I'm going to play 9 today. I hope you don't mind. Is your son okay?
Yeah, my son's fine.
I'll be thinking of you.
Another rough night last night with young Coop. These viruses just pop up out of nowhere.
My gosh.
Yeah. And it's funny. We were just talking about it. He was great all winter. And now,
I was going to say, you got through the whole winter almost without being sick.
It hasn't been a month since he was sick last. It's crazy. By the way, beautiful weather. Speaking of it, if you're down the shore, why don't you check out the Fanatic Deal of the Week?
Ooh.
Same-day ride and water park combo tickets to Maury's Piers for just $70. That's a savings of $50 per ticket for unlimited rides on 3 piers and both water parks for a whole day. Make this summer unforgettable at Maury's Piers. Get this exclusive offer while supplies last at 975thefanatic.com/deals. What was unforgettable was the Eagles winning the Super Bowl back in 2018, February 4th, 2018. And one of the players from that Eagles team retired yesterday.
Okay,
Johnny.
I did not see this one, so let's play a little
You want
thing, 'cause I did not see this.
Oh, you did not?
I did not see the story.
Well,
And I did not read ahead.
Start asking questions.
Offense, defense.
Defense.
Starter,
Yes.
line, secondary.
Secondary.
Was a first-year player on that Super
On
Bowl
the
team,
Eagles.
on the Eagles.
Ronald Darby, that is correct. Ronald
That was a
Darby.
good. That was you gave me. You gave it then.
Ronald Darby
That narrowed it
retired from
Ronald
the NFL.
Darby, and Ronald Darby stepped up.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because the
Out
rest
of
of his
nowhere.
the rest of his career was not that
No,
good.
But Ronald Darby stepped up on that team, and I'm not talking about the level of Cooper DeJean.
Right? No, of course.
The level of, but Ronald Darby, you don't win that. You don't get where they got without him.
So, John Barchard, who does
Sure.
all kinds of
What's up, Johnny?
Eagles-related content. I love John. He's a great dude.
If you don't find him in Sea Isle,
I saw him put out a tweet yesterday about Ronald Darby, and I thought it was very well put. Like, coming out of the Chip Kelly years where the cornerbacks were just dreadful, right? Like, you obviously had your early 2000s corners with Lito, right, and
Sure.
Troy Vincent. Like, you had Sheldon Brown. You had great corners, and then those later years of Andy into the Chip Kelly years, you just had bad cornerback play. It also didn't help that the defense was gassed like week 2. Ronald Darby was like one of those guys that they acquired and was better than what they already had. Nobody's saying that, to your point, he's the level of Cooper DeJean or Quinyon Mitchell.
No. But when you look back at the story of that team, you can't tell it without the contributions of Darby.
Of Darby, Jalen Mills.
I
think the defensive line did a lot for them because it gave, they wreaked such havoc on quarterbacks and made them uncomfortable. But Ronald Darby did his part. Now, I saw a lot of people like, man, Eagles legend. I'm not there.
No.
I'm not there.
No.
But
don't do that.
Yeah.
He's not an Eagles legend. Stop it.
But he's a Super Bowl champion.
He's a Super Bowl champion.
The first of the franchise's history. And it's funny, like, the first play that comes to my mind of Ronald Darby is not even a play where, like, he intercepts a pass. I know he had the big interception that Christmas Day game against the Raiders where it was horrible.
By the way, that game, I will tell you, that will go down in history to me because of the event and because of just we would always come up at Christmas.
Yeah.
And we would usually come up the day after. And we came up in time to be able to get me to go to that game. And so we got to the hotel. I got down to the game.
Yeah.
It was bitter. It was nasty.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Horrible.
And then it was a bad game.
And it was one of the worst games I've ever seen. And the Raiders literally, I've never gone to a football game where I said this game could be fixed.
Like them costing themselves the game?
That game, to me, screamed, oh my gosh, this game's fixed.
Ronald Darby, though, I could be wrong, but he could be the first player in an Eagles uniform that the majority of people saw as a Super Bowl champion. I'm pretty sure he's the first one on the TV when that ball hit the ground.
That's great knowledge by you, if that's true. The first thing that I think of Darby is not even him making a play. It's him making a block. The Patrick Robinson pick 6 in the NFC Championship
laid out
game.
by Jerick McKinnon.
He got crushed. he got crushed. I mean, he got uplifted off the ground, but he made a big block. And that interception, I stand by it. That interception changed everything.
No, they were in big trouble.
They're at midfield. Their first drive, they went down the Vikings went down the field with Case Keenum with ease.
And that was hot knife through ball.
Kyle Rudolph was the touch. Like I remember it was like nothing. I'm going, oh damn. And then the Eagles went like 3 and out and boom, boom, boom. They're going right down the field again. And that pick by Patrick Robinson and that block by Ronald Darby changed everything.
Do you okay, I'll tell a little story.
Go for it.
We had an intern from Georgia Southern.
Okay.
Who was Jarek McKinnon's football sort of like tutor.
Okay.
First of all, to have a tutor at Georgia Southern, that's the person who sharpens the crayons.
Gotcha.
I mean, seriously. Georgia Southern is not really academically strong. And let's just say she said she felt like she deserved a cut of any NFL paycheck.
Oh.
that there was
That's
any
insane.
kind. Yeah, she would tell a story.
Is he still out there? Is he with the Chiefs?
I don't know.
What's he up to?
He was on Kansas City. I don't know if he's still hanging out or not.
I don't know.
I liked him a lot, and then
Oh my
he
God, he was an overachiever.
and then he got hurt. He had a really bad injury when he was with the Vikings. He was with Kansas City 2 years ago, so he's been out of the league for
Went
2
to
seasons.
San Fran, dude, and like tore his ACL or Achilles.
No, he got hurt in Minnesota.
Was it in Minnesota?
Yeah, so
Okay.
He played with the Vikings from 14 to 17 and did not get back in the league until 2020. Like, he had a horrible injury.
That's crazy.
It was one of those ones that was like gruesome.
Yeah. And then he came back in 2020, played 4 more seasons, and that was it.
And he was not invited to NFL Jeopardy week.
He was
From what I was told.
One final thing on Ronald Darby, though. It's another move by Howie Roseman in training camp, trading
Right.
for Darby,
Yeah.
giving up on Jordan Matthews, sending him out there. A lot of people weren't happy with it at the time, but
Yeah.
another move that Howie did leading up to the season.
Well, that
need.
secondary, Malcolm Jenkins over Jarius Byrd, Ronald Darby training camp, Patrick Robinson was a late addition, Jalen Mills 7th-round pick. Like that was one of those Howie batted 1,000.
Corey Graham's old ass.
Corey Graham, my God. Trip down memory lane. All right, coming up next, we'll check our text line. Sorry that we went away from it for a little bit. You can text in at 610-632-0975. How does sports impact our lives? Positive, negative, watching, playing. I will also say, to start 9 o'clock, the segment might get a little heavier. Because
Wait
in
a
terms
minute.
of
I have not. I have been loyal to the workouts and the diet.
Because in terms of
It's gotta be
fandom
Gunner.
or watching sports, there are some people that should just be behind bars.
Really?
Explain more coming up next. Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The trade compensation is in. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. On Friday, the Eagles agreed to a deal to send Bryce off to the San Francisco 49ers, and yesterday that move became official. In return, the Eagles are going to receive a 5th-round pick that can turn into a 4th-rounder in 2026 based on the on-field play of Huff next season. Once we know the exact criteria for that, whether it's a snap count, whether it's a sack count, we'll let you know right here on The Fanatic. In other Eagles news, Saquon Barkley was announced as the cover athlete for Madden 26. He's the first Eagle to grace the cover since Donovan McNabb 20 years ago on Madden 06. And Vic Fangio is set to speak to the media today at noon prior to today's OTA practice. We'll carry that live for you on the Mike Missanelli Show. After a day off yesterday, the Phillies look to end their 4-game losing skid tonight against the Toronto Blue Jays. Zach Wheeler was supposed to be on the mound, but he's away from the team awaiting the birth of his child. Christopher Sanchez will get the nod in his place tonight. First pitch is tonight at 7:07. This update was brought to you by AAA Tire and Auto Service. Coming to your local AAA Tire and Auto Service location and save $40 on any repair of $150 or more. Valid through June 30th. Details at AAA.com/mycar. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the NBA Finals. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Hall of Fame baseball insider Jason Stark.
This rotation is
7-5, the Fnag. One more note on Ronald Darby. Our man Mike Gill texted me. I forgot. There's some things that you just sometimes need to be reminded from the Super Bowl season because so much happened. Ronald Darby got hurt in week 2 and missed a lot of time. He had an ankle injury, and because he only played 8 games that season.
Look at that.
And then he eventually comes back and makes the big impact for the team, especially come playoff time. So he had 3 picks in 8 games. And then eventually helps them win the Super Bowl. How about that? So congratulations.
That's awesome.
10-year career, by the way, for Ronald Darby. Guess the teams. Eagles for 3 years.
10 years for
Bills
Ronald Darby.
before that.
Bills
Raiders.
before that.
Bills, Raiders, Patriots?
No Raiders.
Didn't play for the Raiders.
And no Patriots.
No Patriots?
Denver for 2. Washington for 1. Baltimore for 1. And then Jacksonville this past season.
Wow.
10 years.
But you know what, though? Do you realize how important the 10-year is?
Oh, my God. Well, that's, yeah. Probably
10
why the 10th season in Jacksonville happened.
The 10-year pension for the NFL is huge in the NFL.
That was probably a good move to play one more year, even for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
It gets you.
All right, so what we've been talking about today, how sports impacts our lives in many different ways, whether it's you yourself playing and the memories that you have of it, or memories of being a fan, or the community that you have built from being a fan. I talk about our YouTube community all the time. There's people that tailgate that know each other just from tailgating. Like, it's amazing. Philly Sports Shirts, we just did the endorsement for it. I know people that go on every single trip that hang out with each other, right? Through Philly Sports. Like, they met each other through Philly Sports Trips.
And then they do things, they'll hang out together. They'll do other things.
Yeah. And like, this job, right, that we are so blessed to be able to do, like, I think about Karate Mark, who lives, or when I lived in the Northeast, was 5 minutes down the road from me. Like, we hung out at
How come
bars
you never
every once in a
learned
while.
how to do any of the martial arts with them?
Because I was not a good enough student. How's that sound?
Okay.
But
So you never tried.
I never tried. But, I think about just through doing this job, because he's a big listener of the station. You know what I mean? Like, it's beautiful how sports
We have the
is
same
able to create
favorite
friendships.
resort in the world.
Yeah, that's exactly. And
When
you
you
learned
said
that
it last
from
year,
him.
you were like, yeah, you're going to that resort. That's
Karate
Karate
Mark
Mark's
goes.
favorite resort.
Yeah, I mean,
and
it's
guess
beautiful.
what? Karate Mark doesn't lead you wrong.
Now, let's get a couple text messages before it gets a little heavier on this topic as you're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN, WPN, HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group Station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. What are the people saying on the text line about sports and how it impacts their life, either day to day, month to month, seasonally? Because I know football is obviously different than baseball, basketball, and hockey for people. But how do people allow sports to impact their lives, Brendan?
Yeah, no name on this one, but he's checking in with a Florida number. He says, how does sports impact my life? After being born in Philly and moving away when I was young, I recently moved back. Why? Because of sports. Every time one of our teams made a playoff run, I felt an unbearable FOMO. I craved the atmosphere and community our teams created. I needed my future kids to grow up in this atmosphere and community. You talk about lifelong memories. For me, it was the night the Phillies won in 2008 when I was back in Philly for college and I got to celebrate on Broad Street. Nothing will ever top that night for me.
That's our buddy John Maley, who listens to the show every day, watches on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Him and his wife, Babe. That's not her real name, but that's what I call her. Babe, they'll be moving back eventually here from a work sabbatical where he had to go out of town, and they'll come back. Part of it is coming back to family, but coming back to the sports and everything like that is important. And they've never gotten disconnected in the short time. And Philly Sports Trips is part of how they do it.
That helps a lot, yeah.
It's part of how they do it. And saying that, I can tell you from being apart for 26 years.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It was hard. The night the Phillies won the World Series was the worst night I was away. That was the worst night.
Yeah.
It was, I felt like every family member that I wasn't around, every friend that I grew up with, I just felt completely disconnected.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
That
was the worst. That was the worst. 2008, October, 29th?
Yeah, and then the parade was on Halloween.
On Halloween, and I was at Georgia, Florida weekend.
That's good.
Again, we're down Georgia. And Georgia, Florida weekend was like...
You couldn't miss
No,
that.
I couldn't miss it. And it's like Mardi Gras. And I was sitting at a bar in Jacksonville before our show, at the Hooters in Jacksonville, sitting at a bar watching the Phillies parade on like ESPN2.
Yeah.
And I could not have been more heartbroken.
That you weren't there.
Watching that parade.
Yeah.
And, it's Georgia, Florida weekend, and it's a zoo. And it's beautiful. It's a party and everything.
Right.
And I felt that, so I know exactly what that texter's talking about.
What else we got on the text line there, Gunner?
Yeah, we got our guy, Joe the Cynic, checking in. He says, sports to me are family bonding moments, from sitting with my family at games, my kids attending my Sunday games. Now I'm currently taking my son to a handful of recruiting trips. Sports in that way is also a family bonding thing.
Yeah, look, I mean, I know what it's going to be like, with my son. Like, he's just the other day when we watched the Phillies beat the Braves. I think it was game one of that series, or it was game one of the doubleheader. I forget which one. And after the Phillies won, he says to me, "Dad, why do the Braves stink?" And I must have said that like out loud or something. And he repeated it all weekend long. And I'm like, damn it, I'm proud of you, man. And like, that's the kind of bond that I know that I'm going to grow up, with, or my son will grow up having with me, just like I had with my dad, right? Like, the amount of Phillies games that I've watched and attended with my dad, like, that's something I'll always cherish.
Yes, it's this Olivia knew that there will never be, do not ever bring a Cowboys fan into my home.
Hell yeah, man, that's a rule.
That will not be.
Rules are
I
rules.
said I can deal with a lot of things.
One of the Kincade family values.
But it will not be, you will not be doing that.
Yeah.
I will not have a son-in-law someday that is a Cowboy fan. Do not even think about it.
Now, to get heavier here, And sorry to do this. There's also people that allow sports to impact them in ways that are just, I don't know what's wrong with you as a human being.
Okay.
But obviously gambling plays a bit of a factor in this for people. So have you been following the story of Lance McCullers?
I have not.
So Lance McCullers, as we remember, is a pitcher for the Astros. He pitched against the Phillies in the World Series. That was the game where the Phillies
and
scored
he's very mouthy.
10. Yeah, he was very mouthy that game. Or after they won, when he was one of the worst pitchers in the series. But he had an injury, and he just recently came back from his injury.
Okay.
I think he's only made like 2 or 3 starts. And he had a bad outing, right? It was one of his first game back. He missed 2.5 years.
I didn't know
with
that.
surgery that he had, yeah. And he gives up 7 runs in the first inning. So it's just his second game back from a 2.5-year absence because of injury, and he gets shelled, right?
All right.
And his family received death threats.
What?
Because a guy bet on the Astros and was drunk and then slid into his DMs and not only threatened him, but also his children. And so that's like the scary thing about how much somebody can allow sports to impact their life. Now, again, this was gambling, so this person needs to seek help. Well, first off, should be behind bars.
Did they do something about the person?
They found the guy.
Okay.
And he wishes that Lance McCullers accepts his apology.
Oh, so he didn't get charged with anything?
Not yet. They're still working on that.
That's terroristic threats. I mean,
yeah, no, this guy should be behind bars. But there are people that, and let's put gambling aside. I don't understand why somebody feels the need to DM Kenneth Gainwell in the middle of a game. Remember, we had that last year.
I don't see the reason why Kenneth Gainwell feels the need to DM
respond.
Somebody.
You're right.
They're not mutually exclusive. Like the guy trying to rip Kenny Gainwell in the middle of a game for what? Like stinking on a Sunday? Who cares?
Yeah.
That much to rip the guy.
And that's the thing. Like I get it. We do this for a living where we have to be critical of players all the time. But I don't understand how people can go that far. And don't blame alcohol. I drink. I'm not making death threats. You know what I mean?
You've got a psychosis.
Yeah.
If I could, I have saved. Someday I'll show it to you. I have saved a file folder over my career of emails that people have sent. Some of the darkest, just nastiest emails from people. And I'm saying to myself, because I always wonder. I've had, I've seen incidents in my career where people have been, I actually have Lance McCullers type situations.
Yeah.
And I go, that person is twisted enough that I'm going to save this email because this person's really twisted. And I've looked at them sometimes and go, oh my gosh, these people are maniacs.
Yeah.
And it's the rare idiot.
Very rare.
Very rare, and you very rarely meet them. But you just say to yourself, how empty is your life?
Yeah.
How empty is it?
And there's some people that sports affect them so much.
You don't like my team. You were critical of this.
Right. Like to me, that's crazy.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Like that one,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's never going to happen that's never going to happen with me.
No,
not at all.
It's because you're an adult.
Yeah, well. All right, coming up next, we'll lighten the mood, I promise.
Please.
Traditions. You have a beautiful one with your daughter when it comes to sports. And so I want you to tell that coming up next, and I want people to answer that one as well. How traditions have begun through sports in your life. It's Kincade and Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Philadelphia Union Soccer.
They play short here. Quinn Sullivan scores!
today following a wild weekend with the Phillies and a wild day yesterday talking about it and just how down people can get over a 4-game losing streak. So we've been talking about that a lot, but we've been trying to spin it into all different kinds of conversations because it's not just negative. And one of the things is traditions. And we talk about, the weekly tailgates at Lincoln Financial Field in the lots before Birds home games, right? Like we've been talking about that a lot today. But it's not just like the weekly stuff. Like it could just be the annual tradition, right? Like I try to go to the Temple homecoming game with a couple of my buddies like every single year. Obviously things have changed a little bit with childbirth and all that kind of stuff. Things change over time, but you can also then create traditions with your kids. And I think you have a beautiful one with your daughter.
Yeah, we've been doing it since 6th grade. 6th grade it began, the dad-daughter Eagles game, and she gets to pick the game. And then we picked. So she picked the Bears game because she said now you can tell she's 21.
Yeah.
Dad, it's the best tailgate because now she's working for a living.
Yeah, she's a genius.
So she knows I have Fridays off.
Yep.
She knows she'll have Thanksgiving off. And then she'll have the weekend. She goes, it's the first time
it's 3 o'clock.
It's the first time she can go to a tailgate as a legitimate adult.
Yeah.
And she doesn't have to work. It's a work holiday for her company. Shout out to SEOM. And then she doesn't have to work for the weekend.
Yeah. She's a genius. And that's why I guessed that one when you asked me to figure out which one she picked.
It's the best one.
But like that kind of stuff's beautiful. And I know that people have traditions, with all my dad and we had the 17 game plan. So it's not like
that's a great one.
It's not like we picked a specific game every single year for the Phillies, but we did that for almost a decade, man. Like going to just Phillies games at least 17 times. Sometimes we just said, "Hey, you want to go to the game today?"
Depending on the year, how well they were playing.
Yeah, and I know a buddy of mine, his family's been doing the Sunday package for a long time. Like I think almost going back to the vet Sunday package. Like that's technically a tradition too. Which going down to Clearwater. I know
That's awesome.
I know families that do the spring training trip every single year, and I think that's beautiful.
Now that's a fantastic thing, and you and Christy loved it last year.
Oh yeah, as long as I'm not sick, it was beautiful.
Yeah, that was pretty bad last year.
All right, let's get some texts and calls here. Let's go to our man Josh. Josh, you're on the Fanatic.
Hey guys, how you doing this morning?
Hi,
What's up, Josh?
Gotcha. I was telling your producer, I grew up around college athletics. My dad worked in the athletic department at West Virginia University for 20 years. And as a child growing up, getting to go to every game, almost took it for granted. But college athletics dominated our life. Going on bowl trips with the family and with the football team, that was pretty cool. Home basketball and football games, I was at every one as a 5-year-old, 10-year-old, every game, dominated my life. Then grew up and didn't go looking for it at first, but became a college basketball coach for 15 years.
Really?
In my first career professionally, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Where at?
I was at College of Charleston, Stetson, Western Carolina, Mount St. Mary's. Typical life of a young assistant coach, just bounced around every 3 or 4 years. Hook on.
That's awesome. Was your dad there when Gail Catlett was there?
His dad is good friends with Catlett. Yeah.
Really?
With his family. They have the farm out in Shepherd. They've been there before, yeah.
That's amazing.
Gail was a family friend.
When I was a Temple student broadcaster, Gail Catlett, and he will never remember, brought us a golf umbrella to put behind our Temple broadcast because the students were throwing pennies at us. And John Chaney and Gail Catlett both had to get onto the thing and say, "Stop chucking stuff from the stands."
That's awesome.
Yes. And Haley, who works on our show, is a huge.
She's a Mountaineer.
Mountaineer. So it's great.
Yep. You talk about life being affected by sports. Definitely, the fans and the students in Morgantown certainly let it get to them a lot.
Yeah. Don't be burning any couches this weekend.
Thanks for the
buddy.
call, Josh. We appreciate it. That's really cool. And again, like I love what he said in the beginning of his call. It was just a part of his life, so he almost took it for granted. Like I think about the access that we have, right? Like,
oh yes.
I don't think Liv takes it for granted. I don't think Cooper will take it for granted.
No,
they're going to be able to have certain experiences that we may not have had when we were younger.
I
right?
showed you this morning.
Oh, so cool.
I showed you the pictures this morning where they had, when I was a television broadcaster, they had Kids Day at the Atlanta Thrashers. And so every year, and they would take my TV broadcast and they would put it up on the Jumbotron too. And so it was Kids Day, and they said, would Olivia like to try to do my job for the day?
That's so cool.
And she was 5 years old. And she did it. And she did it, kept doing it. They just kept having her do it. Whenever she went to a game, they would have Liv do it. And she even did between periods interviews with players and stuff like that as a little kid because it just became a hit with the people.
Did you critique her questions?
She was better than I was. So, not surprising. She was better than I was.
Got right to it.
She did great. So, but I showed you that picture this morning. It's a memory that we'll always have together. And the crowd always cheered bigger for her.
Of course.
You think I should let her do it? Yeah.
And then you probably got booed.
Yeah,
exactly.
It was you want me to? No, let her have it. Yeah, exactly. So it was good.
What do we got on the text line, Gunner?
All right, we got Hayes in South Philly checking in saying,
great name.
Yeah, it is a great name. Needs to come back because he was born back in the day to me. Being a Philly sports fan means the world to me. I was born in '83, a couple of months after the Sixers won. I never thought I would see a championship, but I remember being at work when Bradledge threw that game-winning pitch. My life changed forever that night.
Oh man,
it is. It's an amazing. He was 50. What was he? My math is 15 years old.
No, 83. That's 25.
25. So he's 25. Okay, he's 25. And it does. It changes everything.
Yeah.
I never thought I had prayed so much to see the Eagles win the Super Bowl. And I lied. I said all I needed to see was one.
Yeah, and then you won two, and now you want.
And then I wanted
10.
the second one, and now I'd kill for a third.
It's just so funny. Like when you're a kid and you're just happy to be watching sports, like the 2002 Phillies, 2003 Phillies, like I loved them, right? When I was a little kid, like Doug Glanville, J-Roll was
Travis
up and
Lee.
coming. Yeah, well, actually, I always hated Travis Lee. But like I was a young kid that just loved the Phillies, right? And then you get the taste of 08.
Oh my God.
And you're like, whoa.
It changes everything.
This rules, man.
It changes everything.
And hopefully we can see that again this year.
Hopefully.
That would be nice.
That'd be nice.
All
The
right.
parade.
Coming up next, we still have more text messages to get to, but also we're going to have two different discussions about great players, both who have ties with Philadelphia, and both who are always injured. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Details of the Huff trade. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. On Friday, the Eagles agreed to a deal to send Bryce Huff to the San Francisco 49ers, and yesterday that move became official. In return, the Eagles are going to receive a fifth-round pick that can turn into a fourth-round pick in the 2026 NFL Draft based on on-field play from Huff next season. Once we know the exact criteria for that, whether it's a snap count, a sack count, a tackle count, whatever have you, we'll let you know right here on The Fanatic. In other Eagles news, Saquon Barkley was announced as the cover athlete for Madden 26. He's the first Eagle to grace the cover since Donovan McNabb 20 years ago on Madden 06. And Vic Fangio is set to speak to the media today at noon prior to today's OTA practice. We'll have that for you live coming up at noon right here on The Fanatic. After a day off, the Phillies look to end their 4-game losing skid tonight against the Toronto Blue Jays. Zach Wheeler was supposed to be on the mound, but he's away from the team awaiting the birth of his child. Christopher Sanchez gets the nod tonight in his place on the mound. First pitch is tonight at 7:07. This update was brought to you by Rheem. When you want your home to feel like a dream, it has to be Rheem. Stay cool with a high-efficiency AC system from Rheem, RHEEM. Find your Rheem Pro partner at thereemteam.com. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the NBA Finals, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Fanatic Weekend with Andrew DiCecco.
much water as you need whenever you...
Kincade Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic. We'll get back to our text on how sports impact our lives in many different ways. But there's a couple of things that we're going to get into here. You got an email yesterday that we'll get to in a few minutes.
Damien.
Yep, our man Damien. We'll get to that in a few minutes. But again, the tease was two players with Philadelphia ties who are great, but always injured. And one is a player that actually plays here, that being Joel Embiid. So that's the email from Damien that we'll get to soon. But the other is a guy that people will covet every single year, and that's Mike Trout. And so,
this is incredible.
So last night, did you see the home run that he hit?
I did.
This thing was, I mean,
enhanced. I mean, it was crazy.
That ball flew. I think it was like 460, close to 460 feet. They said to left center. Like this thing was.
It was
tattooed, right?
Ridiculous.
That doesn't explain it enough, right? How deep of a shot this was.
It's ridiculous.
Do you like? I feel bad. I know you have theories. There's a lot of people that have those theories.
Well, I mean, it's a shame his body's broken.
But this guy, who we were saying was, the modern day Mickey Mantle, and who knows if the injuries don't pile up the way that they have. 53 games in 2020. That was the COVID year. 36 and 21.
It's odd when you see a young man break down like that.
Okay, he played 119 games the following year. Then it was 82, 29, and he's played 33 games so far this year with all his injuries. And even that year we played 119 games, the guy hit 40 bombs. Who knows?
It's crazy.
He has 388 home runs in his career, and he's missed so much time. Like, I feel bad, and not just like it has nothing to do with the local tie thing. It has nothing to do with it. It's just the sport of baseball. Like, you needed a guy. Remember, baseball was in a really tough spot, and he was a guy that was kind of bringing life back to the sport. The only problem was he played for the Angels.
See, and I never saw that. I never saw that with him. I saw a guy who never, ever wanted to lift a finger to promote the sport. His performance was great.
Well, yeah,
but I saw a guy who never, ever wanted to do anything to promote the sport.
I mean, he was on every commercial in the world.
And him, as far as he never went out of his way at all.
He was on every commercial in the world.
To promote the sport himself, to go and do the things, to be like the Griffin.
The ambassador of baseball.
No, he never, in fact, he ran from it.
Yeah, and he could have left the Angels, and instead he signed the major life-changing contract, right?
Yep.
Which, to his
Well,
Good for
he
you.
took
His family's
and,
set.
And some would speculate he took the guaranteed money when it was offered the first time it was offered, the first chance he got.
Yeah.
That which you can't blame him.
No, I mean,
if you get the money,
and it's a crazy contract that he got, and will be able to take care of his family for the rest of his life.
Well, he could already have done that with the first money.
Yeah.
But it's to me, I will always look at it as it's a missed opportunity.
Yeah,
for a variety of reasons.
And obviously the injuries are a big part of it. Now, same goes with Joel Embiid.
He's hoping to play in the next Olympics, though, to be healthy for the next Olympics to get U.S. a gold medal.
Joel Embiid, when healthy, is still one of, you can make the...
He's not Trout.
Well, if Trout is at the top of his game, Joel Embiid was a MVP and multi-time runner-up. Okay, fine.
Is it fair or not? Am I saying something that's...
I don't think Embiid holds a candle to Mike Trout in my mind. Mike Trout was generational.
I'm just saying top of your sport for many years.
No, Mike Trout, generational. Joel Embiid, no.
What Joel Embiid did as his position was generational.
I don't think anybody calls him generational.
I think you're crazy. The 7-foot guy that could handle the ball, that could shoot.
I think the theory of Joel Embiid, yes. The concept of Joel Embiid, yes. The practicality of it,
and the injuries have obviously plagued that career.
Yeah, but we've seen much more of Trout producing what we thought.
So, what was this email that Damian sent in to you yesterday?
Oh gosh, I can't find Damian's email. Giving you grief. Oh gosh.
Come on, Boomer.
Well, he was giving you grief.
And
I put it
on
aside.
the show sheet that we were getting to
put it aside.
at this time.
Hold on a minute here. I got it. It's time stamped at 9:30.
He was giving you grief the other day for not using technology.
Yeah, here we go.
As far as hey, look, it's an option here. He goes, if yesterday you said something about the idea, would you get out from under if you had the opportunity to get out from under Joel Embiid? You wouldn't take it. And Damian's like, are you kidding me? He goes, John, if Andrew had the opportunity today to free and clear get out from under Paul George, we had been talking about Paul George,
yes,
and Joel Embiid, he wouldn't take it?
Paul George, yes. Joel Embiid, no.
I can't believe
Paul George in a heartbeat. Joel Embiid, no.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, I hear you.
What do you think? You have magic beans in your pocket?
I told you, man. I am going down with the ship.
But why are you taking us with you?
Violin.
You're taking us all with you.
There's life rafts.
No, you're taking us all with you.
No, your life raft was the days at some point last year when we did the show together when you said you would move on.
Oh, I absolutely move on.
That was your life raft.
Absolutely.
It is on record. That's
I'm off. Yes.
That's your life raft.
Yeah, I got off.
It is on record that you would move on from him if you could for anything.
It was like no, not for anything. It has to be a smart deal. It has to be a smart deal.
Well, hold on a second.
Not for a bag.
How many times have you talked about if you could just get rid of the money, you would get rid of the money?
No, but it has to be a smart. Yeah, no.
And then how many times have you told us what are you going to get for Joel Embiid?
No.
So what's the smart deal?
There still has to be a smart deal out there. Like you have to be able to get. You have to get whatever it is. I want the money off the books.
Okay.
But still, though, there has to be a smart deal.
What's a smart deal, though?
The smart deal would be the fastest way you get me to picks and get money off the books.
If you don't think Embiid is winning you a title, then any deal in that case would be a smart deal.
No, not
it's quicker than getting to a championship without him.
Not true, because you could just say, take on another team's bad contracts that only get you out of the deal 1 year fast.
Then why would you get a bunch of picks for it?
No, that's it, because it's not the idea of if you're going to get, like you could get.
Like you're not getting both.
No, you can get, you're going to get them.
Expiring contracts and picks?
No.
I think the Embiid haul ended 3 years ago.
If you're getting the expiring contracts, I want the expiring contracts to be fast. Fast. Like get them where I'm getting them fast so I can get on with my rebuild. If I'm going to get picks, then it's got to be valuable where it's down the line. Down the line, I'm going to get some value that I can see there's value where that team's not going to be great at the time. I want the pay, though. If I'm getting dead,
hold on a second. The team that is acquiring Joel Embiid is not a team that's going to be bad in like 2 or 3 years. The team that acquires Joel Embiid is a team
I disagree.
A team that like
I'm going to disagree with you because I think the team that goes and acquires Joel Embiid is going to, because I think they're going to have a freaking anchor around their neck.
So how are you going to hold out for a smart deal? If you think Embiid's done, then you think he's done.
The smartest deal. Do you not think there are levels to the deal you can make? Do you think there's not levels to you can
think there's
going to
be a bidding war for Embiid? There's going to be two teams that can physically do it with the cap implications.
I think I saw the other day on Malika's show. I think I saw the other day that they were talking about the big names that could potentially be moved at the end of the year, and they were saying that Joel Embiid can't be moved till the league year is done.
Right.
That there were 6 or 7 teams that could potentially make a deal.
I imagine the Knicks would be one of those teams.
6 or 7 teams could move.
Because the Knicks love Joel Embiid.
They do. And they also don't love Cat.
Correct.
Like, there are moves that could be made. I would do it tomorrow and twice on Sunday. Yes. But Paul George, the whole Paul George thing with Phoenix.
But the Kevin Durant thing.
No. It wasn't with Kevin Durant. It was with
there's Devin Booker, there's Bradley Beal.
Okay. Because you could be out of the money 1 year faster. You take on Bradley Beal, you're done with the contract 1 year faster.
I don't think I want the pain of watching Bradley Beal play basketball.
Well, you're out of the financial
for
Armageddon 1 year faster. I might take that. And that's what I'm saying to you, Gunner, is that I want to get out of the money fast. So whoever gets the money off the books,
you want to fix a culture, and yet you want to bring in Bradley Beal, who remember?
No, I'm not fixing a culture.
I just think you're going to have like 2 selections of the deals you can make. Like, and they're both probably not going to be that great.
Well, you're right. Of the 7 teams that could do it, you may get 2 of them that are willing to bite. But I'm going to take whatever gets me to getting the money off the books faster is the one I want.
So we can tank again and get in the finals like the Thunder.
It's like the Thunder, because tanking
I want
works.
money off the books. Get the money off the books. That's what I want. Because you went and gave them 3 more years after this year.
Dylan McKinnon has already chimed in, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Embiid is one of the best scorers of all time when healthy. Most points per minute in NBA history. He is without a doubt a generational talent.
They'll be talking about him.
Damn right,
generational talent is different than a generational player with actual things to back it up.
Generational player.
Talents are
story
great.
of what ifs.
Mythical. It's mythical.
30 for 30.
Yes.
What if I told you?
What could have been?
What if I told you what if?
Joel Embiid would be a 10 for 30 because that's how often he plays.
That's the line of the week.
All right, coming up next, we'll check our text line. We have our key 3 as well. It's Kincade Salciunas 975.
You were Dylan. Turn off the light, please. We want to
hear from you. So text us at 610-632-0975.
You text.
Sports 97.5, The Fanatic. Today's topic has been about sports and how it impacts our lives. Chris Klepp just tweeted us a beautiful video.
What's up, Chris?
There's a little girl, and our hearts go out to her, who's battling through cancer. And the Philly Fanatic surprised her at her hospital bed.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And the smile that she had when the Fanatic got there. And, like, that's one of those things where, man, I know we grouse. And I know we rip Hopper and, you know,
beautiful.
All this kind of stuff, right? But something like that, like, again, that's where sports is beautiful, man. Just a mascot, right? The mascot of the Philadelphia Phillies puts a smile on a kid's day who's dealing with a lot of tough times right now. So that's been our discussion so far this morning.
And the Fanatic has done so much and Gritty, and stuff. It's like it's become part of culture, and it's great.
It's beautiful.
That's awesome.
How does sports impact your life in one way or another? What do we got on the text line? You can text it 610-632-0975 before we hand things over to the Mike Missanelli show. Come up at 10 o'clock.
We got Josh checking in saying, when I stopped coaching basketball, I really could not watch basketball anymore, sports as a whole. It took me a while to decompress from sports after it being my everyday job for a long time. Last Thursday, at the first game of a doubleheader between the Phillies and the Braves, my son caught Kyle Schwarber's home run ball in the second deck. He had been talking about it all day, about catching a home run ball, and I tried to tell him it rarely happens, and then it happened that day. He's 9 years old, very cool moment, and we got to have it together. Something I probably could have never done if I was working my job in sports all that time.
That's really cool, and that's why, like, when I always talk about the beauty of sports and the greatest reality TV there is, like, you never know what you're going to get when you go to a game. Like, here's this little 9-year-old that's like, I'm going to catch a home run ball today. And dad's really like, all right, kiddo. And he catches a home run ball. Like, I bring up the Lorenzen no-hitter. That was just a Wednesday.
And you almost didn't go.
Yeah, because the previous game rained out. And so my buddy was like, all right, we can go tomorrow or the next day. And I was like, well, how about we go to the Wednesday one? And Lorenzen throws a no-hitter. Like, that was just, I didn't go to the game thinking I was going to watch a no-hitter.
That's awesome.
But it just happens, and that's why I love sports, because it's the greatest reality TV. We talk about games being fixed, and
was that Dub-Dub's first home run?
That was Dub-Dub's first home run.
Did you stop at the Dub-Dub?
Yeah. Is Billy C done with Dub-Dub? Like,
I think he's done.
Are we like?
I think we're done. It should be double L.
Have we realized that he's not the answer?
The guy does it all.
He's not the answer.
He strikes out and he strikes people out.
He's not the answer.
He did pitch 2 strong innings the other day.
He is the answer. I don't know what the question is.
See, now, going back to our texter who said, after he stopped coaching basketball for however many years that he did, it was hard to sort of like get back into sports. I wonder if he means like he missed it, or if he just wanted to take a break. Because I know for our lives,
okay,
man, when I'm on vacation, there's very little sports.
Very little.
Like, unless it's summer vacation, like I'm taking off the week after July 4th, right? So I'm going to put a baseball game on at night, right? Like when I'm just hanging out. But, when I'm going away, like I'm not like tracking all that much.
No. Not at all. Like it doesn't. I have to play catch up.
Yeah, when we come back, because we're so just.
It's nice to be able to have a break from it. And they had a sports bar at the resort in Jamaica.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because we never went in it.
I told you, the Sixers
never went in it.
It was Sixers,
but it was March.
Sixers Bulls when I went, and it's right before, because I was there. The All-Star game was that night, or not that night, but like that week while we were away. And Sixers Bulls is on, and Chrissy's like, "Oh, really? Like I can't." We're in Jamaica.
I don't blame her.
And I was like, don't worry, I'm not going to watch. And so we're hanging out at the bar, and I keep on looking up. And I'm like, oh, what's the score? I can't help myself.
Oh, my God.
Because it was on, but it's nice to break away a little bit.
Yeah, you got to break away.
What else we got on the text line?
We got somebody checking in, no name on this one. He says, living out of the area in North Jersey, every loss stings more because no one is here to commiserate with. The best part of a loss is the company you keep in it.
That's actually something I didn't think about. And I know.
Okay, so commiserating is better?
Therapeutic.
I actually think in some ways it might be better
to not talk to people about it.
Yeah, the negativity. You're away from the negativity because the one thing is, it cures you of the Negadelphian stuff.
Gotcha.
Getting it out of your system it helps cure you of it. Like, I was much more of that Negadelphian mentality before I left.
Okay.
And it helps cure you of it. Because you realize, once you live somewhere else, you realize, my gosh, we have it a lot better than a lot of other places.
I think that is definitely
You just are like, my gosh. I've gotten to see my teams win. I've gotten to see every one of them win in my lifetime.
Oh, good for you.
I mean,
must be nice.
Yeah, it must be
I've
nice.
gotten to see them all win.
I'm talking about Joel Embiid going down the damn Titanic. And you're talking about how you got to watch every team win.
He is the Titanic, but that's all right.
What else we got with the Texans?
We got Faye in Pottstown checking in saying, during the Eagles season, the day after a loss, I wear all black to mourn the loss. After a win, I wear green to celebrate. It's my little quirk at work.
That's really, that's a funny thing.
Yeah, but you know what?
I don't have any problem with that.
Faye's not the only one with the after a win. Like, we see it here. After a win, everybody's got like an Eagles shirt on, or after a Phillies win.
Yeah.
You wear the gear because you're showing your support. Now, it doesn't mean we don't support them after a loss. We're still fans. But
I'll give John a lot of credit. It was back during the old morning show, and I was filling in for our friend Pat at the time, and it was the day after the Diamondbacks knocked the Phils out. And John's like, "Where's your Phillies hat? You have to celebrate the season." John still came in his Phillies gear the day after, said, disappointed, but like, you got to still support him.
Now, I was also still coked up on multiple chemos at the time. So I can barely remember anything of my life at that time.
What's the drug policy here at Beasley Media Group Station?
Believe me, there could have been no drug policy. I was pretty much glowing when I peed.
You do your Beasley best.
So I was, believe me, I can't, honestly, I truly can't remember half the stuff that went on at the time. But it was, you have to. You got to still represent, at that point. By the way, Tony with the line this morning. Tony with a line this morning on Twitter with Andrew.
The line? And
because another line here is Tony saying...
John's loving the line. So
Tony's saying that, Andrew, Joel Embiid would have been one of the first people on the lifeboats if he was on the Titanic.
Yeah, he was.
He would have been knocking.
He's Rose's husband.
He would have been knocking women and children out of the way to be on the lifeboats, and would have had the medics checking on him.
Can I ask something?
Yes.
As a 3-time cancer survivor.
Yes, sir.
Is that a normal term? Like, I was coked up on chemo?
No, it is a. I can just tell you is you don't. When I see you, because we weren't working together like every day. Yeah. I would see you.
Yeah.
I honestly have like zero memory.
No, I know, but
I know it's like you're so medicinally
right. No, I got
that you don't. The weeks that I was having treatment.
Oh yeah, you forgot all kinds of stuff.
Like nothing. Like no memory.
I just didn't like.
I would say.
Is there slang in?
I would say coked up, drugged up, whatever I would use. I'd be like, I am just stoned. I would use whatever.
Michael Tyson over there.
I was unbelievably like just
spinal.
Mike Irvin. John Mike Irvin Kincade.
No, I was
I
not.
broke my back.
I was not with the playmaker.
Spinal.
I was not with the playmaker.
That's one of my.
Not doing that.
My favorite.
Unbelievable.
Spinal. All right, it's time now for the Kincade Salciunas Key 3 best minutes from today's show.
Now, the Kincade Salciunas Key 3, today's best.
At some point, you have to realize in life that what you do day to day does matter.
Yeah.
And at some point, if you show somebody your behaviors, it does matter. Like, that really does. And I've seen it with the Phillies the last few years, and unfortunately, what I'm seeing out of the Phillies this year is the same sort of behaviors. And I think I just have reached a boiling point of, I want to believe, I love to be entertained. I don't believe this team's going to be sitting home in October.
Right.
But late October,
well,
right
that's the
now,
thing.
that's where I'm sitting.
All of our boiling points are different. Jonathan Jones from CBS reported last night that the Bryce Huff trade, Eagles trading Bryce Huff to San Francisco, a 2026 conditional 5th-round pick that could turn into a 4th.
Yeah, it's just going to depend on the incentives of what he accomplishes. The one San Francisco writer thinking that there is a snap count on it.
Yeah.
It's not a production count. It's a snap count.
Okay.
So that's good.
We'll see how it goes. Yeah, so potentially a 4th-round pick for Bryce Huff. And joining us now on the Comcast Business Hotline, where every day is a big day, let Comcast Business help you move forward with what's next. Our man from Inside the Birds and all over the place here on 97.5 The Fanatic, our man Andrew DeCecco. Andrew, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. So I look at someone like Keely Ringo, John, and I think that's fair. But I'm not, like, on the defensive side, Jordan Davis as well, perhaps. But we also said the same thing last year, and there was a really young defense, and a lot of us were wondering, and you remember, I was on with you guys, I thought that if they finished anywhere in the middle rankings, like 15 to 17, that would be deemed a success. because of all the different moving parts. But one thing I've learned is not to discount Vic Fangio and his imprint and the coaching staff that the Eagles have, because they do a really good job of player development and getting the most out of their personnel.
All right, joining us now on the Comcast Business Hotline. Every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business help you move forward with what's next. You got actual football, not just curses, with our man Jeff McClain. Jeffrey, good morning, man. How you doing?
Good morning, guys. How are you? Several of those guys, right? They invested in them in the draft, and at some point they're just going to have to step up and perform. And if not, they have gone out and gotten veterans to kind of offset what maybe those younger guys potentially could lack. And they said, you're not going to be on the team next year, and we're looking to trade you, and we're going to try to find a better spot for you because you're not going to play here, or you're not keep you. You're not going to play at all. And Bryce Hoff wants to play. He wants to play in a scheme that he thinks plays to his skill set. And I think that's essentially what went down. So stay away from OTAs as we work on a deal to get you in a good spot. And quite frankly, it's probably the best spot for him because he's going to go play for Robert Salah.
There's the emotional side of things when it comes to sports. Obviously the joy and celebration when things are going well. But there are some people that allow a single loss impact them in a way where it ruins their day. Like either later that day or the next day.
Gunnar admitted it sets his weeks off.
Yeah, after losing in a playoff series.
That's
a playoff
crazy.
series, I understand.
Regular season Eagles win will ruin my week too. It will.
The end of the season loss is the only one that I think that the next day is still bothering.
Phillies D-backs bothered me for a few days.
It's
for a few days when they lost that.
Ruining a day.
Nah, the loss to the Falcons this year, it came in here with probably 2 hours of sleep. Lost a ton of sleep on that one.
All right, that's the key three. You know what? Now that I think about it, the 2023 NLCS, it's been more than a few days. Like I've been bothered by it for almost 2 years now.
It's one of the worst things ever.
I'll be honest with you guys. Like I'm never going to get over that one.
But you don't let it affect your. It affects your when it's brought up.
Yes,
it's an open wound, but you don't let it affect your.
No, it's an open gash.
It was terrible.
By the way,
what a choke job.
Yes.
And I don't like that word ever.
I know you don't, but
ever.
This time it fit.
It fit.
Real quick, first caller, 2-hour phone line, 610-632-0975. We'll get a pair of tickets to see comedian Kumail Nanjiani June 20th at the Excite Center. Tickets for all upcoming events at parkscasino.com. Must be 21. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
That is
Parks Casino.
on your part.
This is how you win. Yep. Number one, 610-632-0975.
I saw a clip of Kumail yesterday.
Did you?
Yes.
How was it?
It was funny.
Okay.
So you might want to go see him at the Excite Center.
17 days from now at the Excite Center.
Which is a cool little venue, too, it seems it's not as small. It seems like a small venue, and it isn't. But it's very intimate. I think you'll like it. So it's a good and a good performer. Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors made a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research. You can do it, too, at 975thefanatic.com/AACR. Because cancer research saves lives.
Damn right,
it does. Really does.
All right, coming up next, it is the Mike Missanelli Show with Bill Colarulo and Ray Dunn. So that comes your way next. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Amy couldn't come in today.
So she's coming tomorrow?
Yep, we have Amy Fadul for the 9 o'clock hour tomorrow. Adam Schefter will join us for his normal Wednesday hit. Last week he had to do Tuesday. So
I mean, everybody moves around on us. It's like, they can nail these people